Well, hello. Let's see if I can fix this audio thing. Nah, it doesn't matter. It'll only depend on if it stays weirdly staticky here and there. I think that was probably my fault. Maybe not. Interesting. Well, I accidentally reset it. Hopefully that'll fix it. Hello and welcome back to our Ace Attorney adventures. I thought about playing Pokemon, but I feel like I owe people this game too. For those that haven't really already played it, at least. Which includes me. Probably. Started a little bit late because of pups and stuff. To make sure all these things are correct. Also don't think I exported the last one, which I just thought about. Well, go ahead and do that, just in case. Not that it matters, but we're back with the adventures of Ace Attorney and the family tree of Naruhodo and his many estranged cousins that we may never see again. Pretty suspicious, if you ask me, but maybe we'll find out who they were eventually. The Memoirs of the Clouded Kokoro? Kokoro. This is probably a reference to something, as most things tend to be. But I don't know what the reference is. It's like the guy with his cat who is apparently an actual renowned author. I never heard of him before, but... And I mean, Herlock Sholmes? Who's that guy? No one has a name like that. Yeah. Episode 2. The Memoirs of the Clouded Kokoro.
It was a ghastly tale of a winter's night.
Oh no.
One of an invisible killer and a crime perpetrated on the pavement along Briar Road.
We already did this.
The victim lay at death's door. The mystery of just who had stabbed the young lady from behind had been resolved.
Wait, but we already did this one.
No sooner had my friend saved that Eastern Exchange student from his harrowing plight Then in the dim, flickering shadows of gaslight, did a second bizarre crime rend the stillness of that very night. I dare say most can still recall the sensational headlines of the day.
But that was months ago.
Haunted apartment of death, the condemned criminal's curse, the dread demon of coal gas.
Coal gas.
Yet, though the great detective had at once discerned the truth upon his arrival at the scene, it only proved to be the overture that announced the rising of the curtain on a most tragic play.
Tragic play of a game, or what? Oh, my name is Ryusuke Naruhodo. I'm a fledgling lawyer, just starting out on my journey. 6 months ago, I arrived as a visiting student of law, having made the long voyage across the sea from the Empire of Japan to here, London, England. There, my friend died. Thanks for bringing it up. And on the way, in quite extraordinary circumstances, I made the acquaintance of a world-famous detective. Currently, I reside in the attic of the detective's own lodgings, from where I run my legal consultancy of sorts. I successfully defended a number of clients in Britain's highest court, the Old Bailey, but since a particularly grueling and unforgettable legal battle 4 months ago now, I haven't returned to the courtroom. In truth, I lost my right to return. But the epic trial was just one small part of an epic tale which is now about to awaken from slumber, thanks to a letter that arrived this morning from my homeland. So I got locked out of court? I don't recall that being set up. Yeah, what a delicious smell wafting up the stairs. Must be nearly time for breakfast. I'd better go down to Mr. Sholmes' suite. Hello, Reborn.
Delivered.
I opted for this game, cause why not? We gotta solve the mysteries. And say good morning to the great detective and his flatmate. I see this place looks exactly the same. Oh, Bruno, good. I was just about to call up to you. The bacon's ready. Good morning, Iris. It smells delicious as usual. Before we eat, though, I have some news. I had a surprise this morning. Shh, not another word, Mr. Naruhodo. This could be just the abstruse thing for my pre-breakfast stagnation-repelling mental stimulation, my dear fellow. Morning to you too, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, yes. I see. So that's it. Could you maybe, step back just a bit? It's somehow weirder that he blinks. I see. I detect in your eyes affection. That is my detective's deduction. The truth is clear to me as day. My faculties of observation have revealed it again. What are you talking about? You, Mr. Naruhodo, you have, this very morning, met with a surprise. Yeah, I already said that. Well, is that not the case? Really, my dear fellow, barely warrants explanation. Firstly, your hair is particularly unkempt, somewhat reminiscent of a bird's nest. It is? Secondly, you've neglected to fasten the third button on your jacket. Clearly, when considered together, these two facts point to you having being flustered this morning. Even though you're like this every morning. Can I talk now? But of course. I don't look for admiration, you understand. My hair always looks like this. Been like this since I first met you. Oh, it has? Really? I thought I bought you a brush. And the button was ripped off last night, if you remember. By you. Hurley pulled your button off. He definitely presses them a lot. Ah, yes, I recall the incident now. It was after supper, was it not? The evening advanced, I picked up my violin and began to play the wailing notes of a haunting tune. But then, to my utter dismay, the third string snapped. Why did it have to happen? Why? Little wonder then, in my vexation, I grabbed the first button I saw and ripped it from its proper place. I'd like it back now, please. It's troubling me that I can't fasten my jacket. And it's troubling me that you expect me to know where it is. Somehow, somewhere thereabouts on the floor, one presumes. Helpful. Still pressing my buttons. I don't have one, he's still pressing them. What matters at the present time, my dear fellow, is simply whether or not my deduction was unerring. But Hurley, Bruno said it when he came in, didn't he? I had a surprise this morning. Well, that really is a surprise. Yeah, this man is the pride of the British Empire, the famous consulting detective, Mr. Sherlock Sholmes. Can't be a single person in the world who doesn't know his name. Yes, not a single one. Alright then, enough of this silly conversation. Come and eat this bacon before it goes cold. Oh, wait, too late. And I have a new herbal tea for you to try too. My latest special blend. Made out of taco chips and cheese. Here we have Iris Wilson, Mr. Sholmes' lodger and companion. Truly exceptional young girl, who's the author of the highly successful serialization here in London. Yep, The Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes. As published in Rand's Magazine. You know, honestly, it's gonna be harder to go back to saying Sherlock Holmes after reading Sherlock Sholmes for so long. Weird that Wilson didn't get a different name. I mean, I know it's Iris now, but... You know, Wilson's still her last name and was the name of the doctor. So, Mr. Naruhodo, why don't you put us out of our misery? What surprised you this fine morning? Ah, well, I received a letter. We just got a letter. We just got a letter. I wonder who it's from. I can't read Japanese. Oh, from Susie, you mean? Was it? Really? That's right. She had some rather startling news, in fact. Ah, intriguing indeed. You must tell us all about it over breakfast. Oh yes, what fun. Hang on, look at this. Oh, is this Japanese kanji script embroidered here? That's right, the name of the armband's owner. Ah, so that's how you write Naruhodo, is it? Actually, no, it's my best friend's name, not mine. Pronounced Kazuma Isogi. Was it Watson? I thought it was always... Well, they both changed both of them, I guess I can't complain. They still had John, though, I think. Because it was John H. Wilson, right? No, you're right, it is Watson. Because I remember him saying stuff like, "Elementary, my dear Watson." Who's Wilson, then? I know in this one it's Wilson, but I feel like there was another show I watched that was had Wilson as a last name then. You know, legally distinct detectives. Put that over my door. And hello, Phoenix. Hope you're having a good day and enjoying all of the magical adventures in 14. Be sure to buy a Santa hat. Oh, also, I just remembered. I noticed it later, or earlier, not later. I can't notice a thing that hasn't happened yet. But if you go to the Calamity guy in Limsa outside the Aft Castle, you can get back any belts you happen to be missing. I still had a few in my bag. But he has a whole thing that is just about getting your belts back. That way you can desynthesize them, or sell them. Ah, yes, of course, the volleyball. That must be the Wilson I was thinking of. Actually, thinking about it, I think there was a thing I watched a bit before we started this game, or the first game, where they took the clip of him yelling Wilson from that movie. Every time someone died. It was a YouTube thing. For Half-Life? But every time the Half-Life guy, I forget his name, would kill someone, one of the guards would just yell, "Wilson!" and then start chasing him again. At one point, one guy dies and like 7 of them yell. It's really dumb, but a lot of old YouTube stuff is. Actually, this armband in some way embodies his spirit, you see. I thought that was his sword that embodies his spirit. Huh, so you have to write all those lines just for one person's name? Kanji is funny, isn't it? Yeah, well. That's right. Never mind my feelings about my best friend. It's lines I really want to talk about. You crossed the line, Iris. Oh, so you have a scale balances in Japan too, do you? Well, yeah, but nothing like the Old Bailey's huge example. The thing about scales is they're only ever in balance right at the start of a trial, aren't they? Otherwise, they always seem to be hanging one way or another. I noticed that exact same thing. Kind of annoying, really. It's almost like this whole thing is pretty imbalanced and dumb. This is the letter they arrived from Japan this morning. By International Post. Oh, how lovely. Look at Suti's beautiful writing. I wish I could read it. And how is your judicial assistant faring, may I ask? She's very well, thank you. In fact, according to what she's written, actually appears as a lawyer in the Japanese Supreme Court and won the case. Also, she flipped a guy into the air. Really? Oh, isn't she wonderful? A cut above your good self, my dear fellow. Hey, I won my first case too. I've won cases too, you know. Apparently, Mr. Natsume appeared in the trial as a witness. Natsume. Nope, I don't recall that name. Of course you do. We helped the man. Twice! You know, in those 2 cases that took place on the road 6 months ago? Ah, yes, the mustached twitchy man with the somewhat feline eyes and mustache. He didn't have 2 mustaches, Hurley. Are you sure? Yes, who could forget those 2 cases? They made very deep impression on me. So deep, I've forgotten entirely. Although I must confess the details are a little hazy now. A very deep impression they made on you. Clearly. So what was this startling news penned by Miss Sasato? Remember the case of the haunted lodging, Mr. Sholmes? Ah yes, it's very interesting, you know. I don't feel entirely uncertain that the case of nature did not occur. He'd totally forgotten then. Anyway, in her letter, Miss Sasato asked that we read over her case notes again and investigate further. Though it took place half a year ago, for what purpose? Because of something Mr. Natsume said to her, apparently. Just that the real reason why she was called back to Japan so suddenly might have something to do with that case of the haunted lodgings. Oh? On Mr. Natsume's return to Japan, Miss Sasato's father questioned about the case, she says. Something Mr. Natsume appeared to have troubled Professor Mikotoba, prompting him to send that telegram. Oh, that case, yes. I totally know what they're talking about. I don't remember which one they're talking about. It was very strange, wasn't it? Yeah. And I had compiled the whole story into a nice, neat manuscript ready for publication, too. And Hurley here was all funny about it, remember? He was very mean. A story must not be published, you said, very mysteriously as well. Really? I said that? Are you sure? Is this guy okay? Like, can we investigate a hospital just to get him checked out? You perhaps know something about it as well, Mr. Sholmes? About why Miss Sasato suddenly told 4 months ago that she had to return to Japan? It's been 4 months since she looked at us. Now since we waved Susie off at the Dover. It was such a shock, wasn't it? The way she just suddenly announced that she had to go back to Japan. Indeed it was, due to the telegram she received from her homeland, I believe. That's right, telling her to return urgently. Yes, because her father had passed away. No, it says he was suffering from high fever, the cause of which was unknown. He's not dead. But according to this letter, that news about her father's fever was just a ruse. A ruse? That's rudes. So Susie's daddy lied to her so she'd make the voyage back home? Why would he do that? I have to admit, I have absolutely no idea. Yeah, it's nice when we're on the same page as our protagonist. But she believes it's almost certainly related to the case of the haunted lodgings. Hello, OP. We're talking about the haunted lodgings again. Summoning her back to Japan so suddenly like that? I wonder what Miss Sasato's father's hiding. I wonder what everyone's hiding. Why can't they just be honest about it? Who cares? Hurley, do you know what this is all about? Know what what's about? Oh, I'm in my outfit now. Well, who can say? You can say. What? But you said... Please, I have engagements, my dear fellow. My calendar is quite surprisingly full today. I'm leaving. Goodbye. Strange analysis of a matter would be excessive, I feel, even if I were quite at leisure. So, man the fort in my absence, won't you, Iris? I will, Hurley, don't worry, even though I'm not in a fort, or a man. See you later. Well, he's definitely hiding something. Let's go investigate. Did someone shoot VR into the wall over there, in the top left? Should I be playing this game in VR? Because I don't have those. I don't want those. Sounds terrifying. And also, with how clumsy I am, I would definitely punch something. Most likely myself. Got it off rather quickly there. I think perhaps Professor Mikotoba isn't the only person hiding something here. Soseki was also involved in 2 cases, but only one of them was forbidden from being published. By, of all people, Mr. Sholmes. Aha! I found them at last. Iris, are they... The notes about the case? That's right. Susie and I compiled them together. The case of the haunted lodgings. Do you want to read them, Runo? Absolutely. Thank you, Iris. Where'd this music come from? No idea what secrets could be hiding in the shadows of this case, but perhaps if I read over the notes again, something might come to light. That's the spirit. Also, here's my gun. That would be the dream, to just be able to point and win the Beat Saber. I decided to read over the case notes again together. Everything from what happened to our investigation and that fierce battle in court that followed. Reliving every detail. Just need to find a clue. I have all the time in the world. And remember, if you also have all the time in the world, you can go back and watch that case, Blue Mage Brilliant, on YouTube. You'll have to figure out which one it is, though, because I don't remember. Because, of course, I'm no longer allowed to practice law in courts of Great Britain, for some reason. Just kind of glossed over that. Thank you, Reborn. It was 6 months ago, mysterious incident that unfolded on the wintry streets of London. We never talked to her. Ever. We never saw her. The young woman was found lying in the snowy pavement on the road with a knife in her back. Fortunately, her life was spared, but she was unconscious for several days following the incident. And, you know, they never thought, maybe we should wait for her to wake up before we start hunting the killer. The fog was thick and nobody saw her attack her, but by a cruel twist of fate, the visiting Japanese student was walking behind her at the time, and was duly arrested. Ah, here I am! That man was Soseki. The man who effected his arrest was Mr. Sholmes. Leaving in our compatriot's innocence, Susato and I decided to represent Soseki in court. And after a grueling trial of many twists and turns, we finally managed to prove his innocence. Joyful, joyous, jubilant jubilation was the man's reaction after the trial. But his jubilant jubilation was short-lived. See a telegram from Mr. Sholmes the following morning. Victim of the road stabbing regained consciousness. Hurry to Bart's at once. So Susato and I summoned a handsome? What's a handsome? I assume that's like a taxi, but wasn't that a... Headed immediately to the hospital. Whatever a handsome is, we rode it. Why is there an animated rat? Why did they put her in this garbage room? The whole place is falling apart. There you are at last. Good morning, Mr. Sholmes. I think not. Oh, hello, I'm here too. You're late! What on earth took you so long? Your telegram only arrived at 5 o'clock, Mr. Sholmes. It's a 20-minute ride to the hospital. That's right, and it's 5:30 now. Think we made very good time. Time is utterly irrelevant. The fact is, I've been waiting for at least what felt like an eternity. In point of fact, I myself was awoken at 4 this morning by telegram boy. The feeling was somewhat unjust that I alone have been roused at such an hour. I sent one to you. Well, thanks for that. Anyway, you're here now, so the victim is over there. She's only just regained consciousness. Why didn't we do this in the last game? You should introduce yourselves, and I shall observe from here. That's the lady who was found on the snow-covered pavement with a knife in her back. Her name is... Ah yes, here we are. Miss Green. You can tell because she's green. I mean, I have to look at this rat. A mouse, Naruto! An enormous mouse! Vermin in a hospital? That doesn't seem to be the best. Looks like such a very healthy specimen, doesn't it? It's very plump. I'm not sure we can say that's down to excellence of this facility, if that's what you were thinking. Be very considerate of the little hospital mouse. Look, there's a photograph of this frame here. Oh yes, it's a picture of a young gentleman. Looks to be about the same age as Miss Green, I would say. Perhaps this one young woman's special someone, do you think? You look pretty young to me, but okay. My, Mr. Naruhodo. Didn't know you had a sense for matters of the heart. Not in the least. I sincerely said the first thing I thought of. Rounded wooden figure isn't the most charming, is it? I don't think that's a decoration, Mr. Naruhodo. It's an artist mannequin, I believe. Used when practicing sketching the human form in different poses. Really? Not exactly what you'd call a typical figure for the purpose, though, is it? No, I suppose not. No one ever draws larger-than-life people. Confess I've never seen one quite so full-figured before. Yeah, if you want to draw a full-figured person, it's the right tool for the job. Is that the word for it? Looks like the patient's treatment notes. Let's see. Do not feed. What is this place? A zoo? You know, I seem to remember seeing an almost identical sign in our local park. For the pigeons, yes, this is a person. Poor woman. Hope she hasn't read this. Why can't we feed her? Lots of bottles in that cabinet, aren't there? You think it's safe to keep them in like that? If you were a patient here, I feel sure you take some medicine by mistake when you were half asleep. That is a worry, but at least the cabinet has a lock, even if it's only a flimsy-looking one. Oh, I have no doubt you managed to unlock that somehow while you were half asleep as well. There are limits to even what I can do when I'm half asleep, you know, Miss Susato. But, you know, thanks for the vote of confidence, I guess. Nothing in particular of note. How do I... Oh, there we go.
All sorts of medicines in this cabinet, look. Not sure if it's safe leaving them in reach of everyone like this. Yeah, you're right. I can imagine if you were peckish, you might try a whole bottle or two. At least there seems to be a little lock to secure the cabinet doors. Don't imagine that would stop you if you were hungry. I worry that you'd break the lock. Hunger doesn't turn me into a criminal, you know. I forgot how much she just kind of casually breaks his heart. Looks like the treatment notes for whoever's occupying this bed. Let's see. Do not permit to run around the hospital. The patient doesn't seem to be here at the moment, so... He or she is probably running around the hospital then. Oh dear, how worrying. What's worrying is why they haven't discharged the patient yet. And how they get away with not feeding this one. Good morning. Hello, I'm, Ryunsuke Naruhodo from the Empire of Japan. Oh no, was I? Was it your knife then? Are you the man who... No, I'm a lawyer. I'm Sasato Mikotoba. Pleased to meet you. Oh no, was it your knife then? Are you the one? No, I assure you, I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant. We heard you regained consciousness and wanted to come to give you our best wishes. Best wishes? For me? Thank you. Uh-oh, she has a keyblade. I'm Olive Green. I'm an artist. Well, no, that's not right, is it? What I mean is, I'm trying to be an artist. Her brushes keep disappearing. Step 1 of being a good artist. Don't let your brushes disappear. Well, what I really mean is, I desperately want to be an artist. But the truth is, I don't have any talent. I know I don't. It's no wonder I was stabbed in the back. Just like my art stabs me in the heart. I don't think that's related, actually. Although gravity does weigh on us all. Gosh, this young woman seems to bend over backwards to put herself down. It's almost like she could relate to whoever's doing her voice. Seeing as we're here, we should ask her about what happened from her perspective, I suppose. Suddenly be struck in the back by a blade as you were walking along the pavement. What a terrible experience you had, Miss Green. Let me just remind you of it. It was so cold that day, and the fog was so thick, I couldn't see a thing. That was 4 days ago now, I think. Is that right? Yes, that's right. I'm afraid you've been comatose all that time. I thought it was 7 days. But the case has been solved, hasn't it? While I've been in the hospital, I mean. Indeed it has, my dear madam. Spectacularly by none other than I, Herlock Sholmes, who did absolutely nothing. Mr. Sholmes, as you well know, it was Mr. Naruto's hard work in that court solved that case. Are you yet to hear what happened, Miss Green? Yes, I'm afraid so. A gentleman from the police force is supposed to be coming to fill me in shortly. Oh, I see. Me coming around seems to have made everyone frantically busy. I'm so sorry. I should never have regained consciousness. It was selfish of me. Oh, jeez, lady. We're glad you're okay, though. I was worried that we never got to meet her, and yet we apparently did, just off screen. Oh no, we're all so relieved that you're on the mend, Miss Green. Really, we are. That kind of attitude. Maybe your surname should be Blue, not Green. I feel like I'm being attacked. Reborn, did you write this script? So you're an artist, are you, Miss Green? Oh no, I couldn't possibly claim that. I'm a fledgling artist at best. I mean, I'm a student of art, really, at the Thorndike Academy of Fine Arts. I think that's how you're supposed to say that. Oh my, an Academy of Fine Arts. Great Britain's such a wonderful country. Tell me, Miss Green, do you live hereabouts? Oh no, actually. I don't deserve it, but I have a little flat on Brixton Road. I see. How very interesting. Oh no, is it? Brixton is some 10 stops away on the underground from here. And the academy is a mere 3-minute walk from Brixton town center. Does that matter, Mr. Sholmes? Perhaps not, but the road is far less salubrious part of town by comparison, dwelt in those by inferior means, including the maleficent Mr. Mustache. Inferior means, I suppose Soseki does fit the bill. Struck me as somewhat out of the ordinary for a young fine arts student to be walking on such a district. That's all. That's where the library is. What's this? She suddenly clammed up. Mr. Sholmes, you should be ashamed of yourself, prying into a young maiden's private affairs. Oh dear me, do forgive me. If you don't mind. I'm being discharged shortly, so I need to pack up my things. Oh yeah, of course, we won't keep you. Thank you so much, Miss Green. I don't know what we're thanking you for, but thanks.
Mr. Naruhodo here, Mr. Naruhodo.
Naruhodo now. Well, if you're looking for Naruhodo, the lawyer, that's me.
Ah, Mr. Naruhodo, good, this is for you. As for Mr. Saucy Nutsmig.
Mr. Natsume sent a message to me? Also, I know it's Japanese, but, like, none of those words sound the same. Why would a policeman be delivering a message from Mr. Natsume? Exactly, what's going on? What's a Scotland Yard constable doing playing delivery boy at this time in the morning? Ugh, what are you waiting for? Let me see that. Oh. Well, it's not interesting. Well, this is most unexpected. Something wrong, Mr. Sholmes? Is something wrong, Mr. Sholmes, he says. Have you not seen this note? No, how could I? You took it from me. It would seem that London's criminals have no intention of letting the great detective rest. New case calls, a case of murder no less. We must depart at once. Murder? Call a cab, the time is of the essence. But the trouble is, we've yet to read Mr. Natsume's note. I was thinking we ought to pay him a visit at his lodgings once we did. That will be entirely convenient. Convenient? What do you mean? It's all here in the note, my dear fellows. The murder we must investigate took place at Mr. Mustache's lodgings. Wait, what? I'll hail a fiarce at once. What? How many words are there for taxi? And hello, Riesling. Hope you're having a good day. Hello, Mimikyu. Hope you're having a good day. So only yesterday that Soseki was in court and we were dispelling doubts about his innocence. And now, the very next day, there's a murder at the man's own address? May very well be the unluckiest man alive. Or so it seemed to us at the time. We were soon to discover it was worse than we thought. He was in fact the luckiest man alive. Because if he had not been, you know, in jail, they probably would have been like, you're the murderer. This is a flashback, Mimikyu. Back to before Sasato left. We apparently just skipped this trial in the first game, and they're doing it now. Oh. Oh, it is this guy. I remember this guy. He shows up in front of... Where was it? I think he shows up in front of the building that they go to. That Soseki lives in, and then you never see him again. You know, right now, in the present time, we are reading the case notes on this by flashing back to it, I guess. Oh my, the gentleman is deceased without question. He's dead. You can totally tell by the way he just has a fork in his hands. Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. I feel like this character is probably... Is he the Larry of this generation? I feel like everything happens to him at this point. Well, at least he's in Japan now, so outside of this case, he's not going to be our problem anymore. Mr. Natsume! Oh, why? Why is this happening? Why to me? I've only just got out of court yesterday. I was finally home after 2 days of misery. Then I wake up next day to this. No early bird should catch the worm like this. Woeful worm without wiggle. I see you're in high spirits again this morning, Mr. Mustache. Ugh! Not the horrible Herlock Sholmes. Shoo, shove off, show yourself the door. I never invited you. Mr. Sholmes came here with us. I'm quite sure he'll be able to help you, Mr. Natsume. I'm entirely at your disposal, Mr. Mustache. What can I do for you? No, see, you got it wrong as soon as you thought that Larry was useful. In any way, shape, or form, Larry only causes more issues. Like, I guess all of his issues that he causes end up being good. Like, you know, the reason Nick becomes a lawyer is because Larry's the one that stole the money or whatever. And the reason we are able to prove Edgeworth innocent is because Larry caused the Loch Ness Monster or whatever to show up in the lake. But that's beside the point. Sholmes is annoying on purpose, though. Larry is genuinely a dummy. Hey, I'm here too. Here they are, already. Busybodies. Ah, Inspector Gregson. What a pleasant surprise. Pleasant, is it? Gives me a heartburn every time I see your face at a crime scene, Sholmes. Haha! I deduce, Inspector, that your heartburn is a result of your excessive consumption of fried food. Yeah, good morning, Inspector. This is a crime scene, don't you go touching anything. Yeah, good morning to you too, Sunshine. And he is an intelligent dummy, sure. I'll accept that. A lock for the temperature? Or the gas? No, I said hands off! You're gonna mess up my crime scene. Oh, no, I just wanted to look, that's all. No chance! I know you're kind, you'll mess up just by looking at it. Yeah, someone's in a bad mood. There's certainly some bad air here, isn't there? Alright, sounds like I'd better talk to the inspector first and try to curry some favor, even though he doesn't seem like the type that would like curry. So, Inspector, what was the victim's name? Who was he? Mr. William Shakespeare. Alright, you know what? I quit. I'm done. This is not the kind of victim you want to shake a spear at. This guy is a sham. He's just a total sham. He was a lodger here. As you can probably tell, he was an actor. Bit of a dead loss, or dead weight, as it happens, or just dead. Mr. Shakespeare? It was the landlord, old Mr. Garadeb, that at the other lodger that Mr. Natsume had found him. Fella didn't rise at the usual hour, so Garadeb got worried and kicked the door down. Wait, how? I thought he was in a wheelchair. But doesn't Mr. Garadeb have a bad leg? Ah, yeah, you're right there. It was that jittery Japanese hunchback over there actually did the kicking. Really? Soseki-san. Victim was pretty hard up, it seems. Even done some time inside for petty crimes. He had no money, no place to go, and no friends. His only acquaintances were the people in this house. Miserable life and miserable end to it. So what exactly is Mr. Natsume still doing here? Not involved in the investigation, so shouldn't you send him away for the crime scene? Well, not saying anything as the fellow looks odd or anything, or that he acts suspicious, but I thought it'd be prudent to take a statement from the cohabiter. You nearly said culprit there, didn't you? Oh dear, Mr. Natsume appears to be under suspicion again. Certainly seems that way. Does just come across as such an odd fellow, doesn't he? No, not really. I mean, other than when he yells, otherwise he looks pretty normal. Poor man, how unfortunate. Anyway, I can't say much about until the corona gets here. But I don't think the fella's been a goner that long. Body's still warm. Even the inspector would allow it. I don't think I could bring myself to touch a dead body. Let's talk to him, I guess. What a terrible thing to have happened. It's only been 3 days since I was arrested for the incident on the pavement outside. And then, having finally regained my freedom, it starts happening all over again. Endless existence of excruciating experiences. Now, the victim lived here on the ground floor and your room is just one story up, isn't it? Yes, that's right. In a way, we were neighbors, I suppose. You know, vertically, if not horizontally. You know the victim? Were you friends? No. This is a lot of dots for a yes or no question. What's the matter with Soseki now? It's an innocent enough question, wasn't it? Why does he seem so shaken by it? Well, I suppose he wasn't a complete stranger. But did he ever invite me to his room? No, never. On my honor, I swear it. What an extreme reaction. You're probably wishing you never asked now, aren't you, Mr. Naruhodo? I mean, a little bit. When we found him here, I felt wretched, which is why I sent word asking for you to come. Through that inspector over there. I feel like if I pay attention to him, he'll never learn to stop doing this. So I'm just gonna look over here. But based on all these check marks, I suppose I don't have a choice, do I? What do you want, Sholmes? Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing? Ha! You need only observe to know it, my dear fellow. Investigating, naturally. Nothing natural about that pose. I was expecting the spider web. Mr. Sholmes, you made some miraculous discovery? Patience, my dear madam, patience. What I've discovered is that our victim here is dead. Wow. What a great observation. Not been here in this room 5 minutes. So far, all I've managed to deduce is what actually happened. My goodness, but... Isn't that everything we need to know, Mr. Sholmes? Now that you propose that idea, I believe one could indeed see it that way. At the present time, I managed to draw two incontrovertible conclusions. The first, that there was a physical struggle here last night in which the victim fought for his life. Ah! Mr. Natsume, what's wrong? Something that Mr. Sholmes said significant somehow? No, don't mind me. Forget I was here. And my second conclusion is that there was a poison lingering in the air last night that passed the victim's lips. Nonsense! Alright, Mr. Natsume, why are you acting so extremely into Mr. Sholmes' deductions? No, please. Pretend I'm not here. Invisible, infallible, inscrutable, insignificant. Impossible to ignore. Must tell us everything, Mr. Sholmes. Spare no detail. Well, I don't have any of those, but of course. Let the theatrical tragedy before us be unveiled by my great deductions presented by your pleasure in two acts. Heard some truly astounding great deductions from Mr. Sholmes in the past. No doubt this will be no exception. What miracles will unfold before our eyes this time? So, my dear fellows, for your delight and wonder, let the curtain rise. For Herlock Sholmes' Logic and Reasoning Spectacular, Act 1. Does that mean this thing will have 2 acts? Yes, I deduce that you're sassing me in your mind, Mr. Naruhodo. Careful observation of the victim reveals to the events that transpired in Discolent in room last night. foam at the mouth, the deceased clearly indicates the use of poison. He's also fairly blue in the face, but... Next to the victim, we notice a large dining plate, of which contains, you will observe, 1/2 of a sizable bar of soap. Meaningful? Indubitably. Yeah, he ate soap. Why did he eat soap? Did he curse? Did he know about the curse of this building and was trying to wash his mouth out? Why is the soap set so purposely upon the dish? Like the victim's last supper, in fact. Yes. Could it be the man was about to eat it? Of course. The fork reveals the answer. It appears the young man's appetite was his undoing. Taking up arms in the forms of cutlery, the victim engaged the deadly battle for his life. Yet the struggle against his hunger was in vain, for in the end he couldn't resist devouring the slippery feast. But London's foul soap is besmirched by foul poison. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by the poison that tainted the contents of the plate. It was clearly his cup, but whatever. Also, that has to be cheese, right? Or something. The soap and the lather about the young man's mouth are too perfectly matched to ignore. The cause of death was clearly intoxication due to excessive ingestion of foul soap. Though personally, I have greater interest in the taste of foul candle wax, of course. Why would you eat candle wax? The cause of death identified, we proceed to Act 2, where we ponder the next question. Was this suicide or murder? The audience will recall that the death occurred during the victim's last supper. Did the man dine and die alone? A single teacup suggests the answer. To draw a conclusion in such a meager evidence would be foolish, however, certainly. Careful criminal could have absconded with his own cup to cover his tracks. Well, allow me to lift the veil of doubt, my dear fellow. Indeed, what reveals the answer, of course, is the broken lock. Though forced open now, at the time of the incident, this door was locked. And the soul key was in the victim's pocket. In other words, when the victim consumed the poison, he must have been alone. Alone with his inferior soap, from whence he wafted the inferior scent. And with that acrid aroma lingering in the air, the victim met his end in tragic solitude. We can take comfort only in the fact that his soul was cleansed on its way hereafter. Aha. Thus concludes the final act of Herlock Sholmes' great deduction. Could we maybe wait for the coroner first? I'm not even gonna comment. I feel like I'm pretty numb to this at this point. Like how they got away from animating the things being refilled by having me like wiggle them a little bit. Yeah, even though you'd assume that this is like a bottomless thing of chips, it's actually just the same chips. They just kind of regenerate. Anyways, moving on. There's just one thing, Mr. Sholmes. You're disposed by identifying just one thing, aren't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Pray, what concerns you? Well, no matter how hungry he was, do you really think the man would have eaten soap? It is quite apparent that the man had barely a penny to his name. Curious thing, but once so destitute, soap can suddenly appear quite irresistibly appetizing. It can't. It's soap. It's gross. How extraordinary. I would sooner believe he would go out to the park and eat flowers than he would eat soap. In truth, I have tried a little soap myself in the past. You've eaten it, you mean? My dear fellow, it was some time ago now. My postulation was that it would cleanse my gut. And I had a gut feeling it didn't. It is winter right now, yes, it's February. And did it? As I writhed in agony on the floor and split the contents of my stomach, yes, I believe it did. The experience taught me a valuable lesson. Soap is quite poisonous. It's an unpleasant taste and leads to great discomfort. In summary, I cannot recommend it. Believe me, I wouldn't eat it even if you did. Something that troubles me as well, actually. Oh, what's that? It's Mr. Natsume. Ah! I'm not here! Ignore me! You know, I'm noticing shuddering and quivering in the corner of my eye. Almost as if Mr. Sholmes' seduction touched a nerve somehow. Nonsense! Oh, what's the point? Yeah, that clenched teeth episode didn't last. I think, judging by Mr. Natsume's reaction, the Great Detective's seduction may need some gentle corrections in order to reach the actual truth. Yeah, Mr. Sholmes' observation deductions are sometimes a little too sharp. It's easy to hit the nail on the side of the head and drive that into an obtuse angle. When he does that, it fails to us to straighten things out. Alright then, let's see what we can do. Let's pick out the key words of Mr. Sholmes' quite brilliant deductions and discreetly exchange them for something that makes a little more sense. You know, we're not saying you're stupid, you're just a little wrong, Mr. Sholmes. If we can do that, sure we'll arrive at Mr. Sholmes meant to say in the first place. In that case, are you ready for the second performance of the day? Once again, my dear fellows, for your continued delight and wonder, let this curtain rise. For Herlock Sholmes' Logic and Reasoning Spectacular, Act 1. Part 2. Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. The events of the transpired on the day, discussed in the room that night. I have to watch this again. I can't deny that fork implies a man was eating something, or about to eat something. Or was about to engage in a spork fight. Yeah, that's true. If I were to decide to eat some soap, I should prefer to use a fork than attempt it with the chopsticks. Or just don't eat soap. And of course, only half the bar of soap is left to the plate. But might there not be some other explanation? Something material that proves whether or not the band really ate some soap? Gee, I wonder if it could be the other piece of soap.
Take that!
Could it be the man was about to eat it? Of course, no. The other piece of soap reveals the answer. It being the other half of the soap on the table. In short, the victim was not eating soap at all. Oh wait, that was Sholmes. But it's obvious, really. For no attempts of hunger could drive any man to attempt to eat soap. Says I, the man who attempted to eat soap. Even I, with my unquenchable thirst for practical knowledge, took only a single bite. But that begs the question of how the man was poisoned, because there's no sign of any food on the table. An excellent observation, Mr. Naruhodo. One that furnishes us with the answer we seek. For London's foul soap has been immersed by foul poison. The victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the contents of the plate. I'm still pushing the soap argument then. I suggest the man licked the soap rather than ate it. Why would you... Soap in London's that poisonous, I don't think I'd want to be washing my hands with it. But there are no signs of any food in this room at all. Food is the only thing that passes people's lips, is it? It's almost like we had another case in the future and in the past where someone drank poison.
Take that!
I know it's the tutorial, but jeez. Yes, I do drink soda on the regular. What's your point, Reslane? I had one of my friends who found out that I ate pizza, was like, you shouldn't eat that. It's like basically poison. I was like, yeah, but it's good poison. Indeed, cups have been the vessel of choice of practicing poisoners over the centuries. I mean, just look at the great king. He died to poison. It appeared that this victim drank every last drop. No sign of food anywhere in the room. Which leads us to the immutable conclusion. The cause of death was clearly intoxication due to the ingestion of poison contained in this teacup. Poison in the tea. Cause of death identified, we proceed to Act 2, where we ponder the next question. Was this suicide or murder? The answer recalled the death occurring in the victim's last supper. Did the man dine and die alone? The single teacup suggests the answer. Ah, the Western vessel for infused hot drinks again. It's already featured heavily in our deduction so far. Yeah, we can imagine shortly before his death, Mr. Shakespeare was having a drink of tea. I definitely didn't want to say Shakespeare. There'd be nothing remarkable about that, but what troubles me... Mr. Natsume's reaction when he heard Sholmes suggest it. More is deduction than it seems. Let's examine the scene of the crime again for more clues. Kind of thing makes me wonder if Sholmes is like blind in one eye and he just doesn't see the right half of the screen.
Take that!
In the man dine and die alone, the other teacup suggests the answer. Yeah, there were 2 teacups in the room all along. In other words, it's a strong indication that the victim's last supper, there was a guest present. At the very least, we can say now with certainty somebody else was here in the room last night taking tea with the victim. Probably someone named Giulietta or something. Well, what are you talking about? Utterly, unbelievably, unjustly unreasonable. To draw conclusions such meager evidence would be foolish, however, certainly. In which case... What can we deduce about this possible guest at the table? Well, allow me to lift the veil of doubt, my dear fellow. You mean to say you know exactly was the room of the victim's death? Indeed, what reveals the answer, of course, is the broken lock. I'm not sure I like where this deduction's going. But it's too late to go back to the halcyon days of eating too much soap. Oh. Any of the guest who was here last night and the victim passed away is something I have a very bad feeling about. Well, you can ignore your feelings, but we cannot ignore the truth, Mr. Naruhodo. Nah, I suppose not. Time to look around again. The bottle or the books? I mean, I guess the books because, you know, Natsume is all about those books, right? Yeah, he had a whole thing full of books from what I remember, so I'll go with that. Or not. There's a pile of books here. Yeah, clearly, no one in the man could hope to read 3 whole books. Okay, well, that was wrong. I must warn you, Miss Naruhodo, that a sprinkling of phrases such as yet clearly and in other words will not fool anyone. But I always hear you using turns of phrase like that in your deduction, Mr. Then more fool you. Yeah. So to emulate the ways of a great detective, you must first identify the greatness. But we're correcting you. Okay, so somebody else in here last night or not? Fundamental question, though, reveal the truth about this man's passing. Can I open a thing? No? Like, what would a bottle prove? Wait. Wonder what they are. Let's see. The titles read: Picture of Monsieur Le Canterbury Yearnings and A Meal for Gabra. Wait, I'm sure I've heard those titles before. It'd be an incredible coincidence, but they're exact same 3 books that Mr. Natsume purchased the other day. So they are the... So I got it right, but Mr. Shom still scolded me for not looking at them first. Yeah, the day of the unfortunate incident when Miss Green was stabbed. So Seki had just been to a bookshop and bought them. That's right. Now there's 3 tiles here in the room of the victim. Yet Mr. Natsume claimed to have never been here before. Well, what does this mean, do you think? I really don't know what to make of it. Can I look at the other things, too? It's empty. Empty of liquid, but full of air. Makes you think, doesn't it? Makes me think that you're full of hot air. We should be thinking about who else was in the room at the time. Bother. Sasato's quip in response was cleverer than my original riddle. Even Mr. Shamspeare didn't eat candles, it seems. Already established that he didn't eat soap either. Do you think perhaps the guest brought this candle here last night? Even if he or she did, doesn't reveal anything about the guest's identity. Good point. There goes my idea. Snuffed out like that candle will be. You sigh so deeply, Mr. Naruhodo, you're in danger of blowing out the flame. Nothing over here I can look at. That's the same thing. The books are the only ones that make sense, so I guess I'll just go with them again. And also, no, he shouldn't berate me for getting the answer correct in the wrong way. Like, there's stupid things in Danganronpa or whatever. It's like, you got the right answer, but you didn't spell it correctly, so you die. There, now it's a pile of familiar books. Indeed, what reveals the answer, of course, is the pile of familiar books. Quite so. No mere coincidence these 3 tiles are here in this room. It's the link to the truth. And to the past. Ugh! Mr. Natsume, you purchased these books 4 days ago at the second-hand bookshop. That's just a coincidence. In that case, you'll be able to bring the same 3 tiles from your own room, will you not? At this very moment. Well... No, never. Non-negotiable. Can't bring your own copies here. It proves that these 3 books are in fact yours. Why is he posing? Now, you purchased the books 4 days ago and returned to your lodging. You were arrested the very next day. So you could conceivably have brought the books here on that evening. But you never mentioned that. In other words, you could only have brought these 3 books here to the victim's room. Why does he dance to the house? Last night, having returned to your lodging after the trial concluded in the Old Bailey. In short, there's only one possible conclusion. The victim died here last night as a result of poisoning. And that same night, the victim had a visitor. And that visitor You're stealing my thunder, man. Was you, Mr. Soseki Natsume? Darn it. Thus concludes the final act of Sherlock Sholmes' Great Deduction. Okay. But then why did he open the door? Elementary, my dear Naruhodo. Not again, not again, not again. Not again. Well then, Mr. Natsume. Bear, you're gonna have to accompany me down to the yard. Again. But wait. Hold your horses? I don't have any horses, but yeah. Door, key, locked, entry, exit, entirely impossible. He's so flustered, he's being even stranger than normal. What, you think that's an alibi? You could have just made a copy. You live in the same building after all. Yeah, plenty of opportunity, I'm sure. But... Misery me! Sorry, sir, you'll get your chance to give your side of the story later. Why don't you just do it now? Facts speak for themselves, Mr. Mustache. Ugh, you horrible Sherlock Sholmes. Yeah, they found something to an arch rival now, hasn't he? Come on now, no dilly-dallying outside. There's a carriage waiting. Another word for taxi. Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire. I never imagined I'd be in this position again. For the third time. But you have to help me, please, please. I'm innocent. Alright, I understand. We'll come to your cell later and talk about it. One more thing. Oh, yeah? My poor little kitty cat. Please give him his breakfast for me. And so, his evil curse still apparently unbroken. Soseki found himself once again the prime suspect of a case of murder. Another reason this guy might be Larry, he appears in every stinking case. He dances to the beat of criminals. Yet all he sings for is justice. Thanks to the incriminating deduction from the great detective. My dear fellow, that honor belongs to you, at least until I forget about it. At least that means Inspector Greggs is no longer here. You can examine the crime scene in more detail now. Yeah, that's right, and of course... Have you forgotten what the inspector mentioned before? It is the landlord, Mr. Garadeb, who discovered Mr. Shakespeare. He didn't appear in Kazuma's case, but he does appear in a different case on the boat that Kazuma was in, so... Yeah, Mr. John Garadeb, yeah. Like we find him in his sitting room at the top of the floor as usual. Alright, must remember to go and talk to him later then. As we've seen from the outside, the window's completely bricked up. Siege of the former window tax the Britons have to play. What a strange thing they used to tax for in Great Britain. I mean, making people pay for the number of windows they had in a property? It's extraordinary. It's heartbreaking to think of the poor having to block up their windows just to avoid an unaffordable tax. Oh! What is it, Mr. Sato? If you look closely, a number of the bricks are loose. Oh, they are. More soap? Hey, it looks so an amateur has broken a few of them out just here. Was it Mr. Shakespeare who did it, I wonder? Being the lodger renting this room. Ah, look at this, Mr. Naruto. On the outside there's a little ledge. And there's something on it. What? Outside? Why'd we look away from it? It's so cold outside you can feel it through this gap. It did snow last night. It would be cold. More importantly, what is on the ledge out here? What are those snow-covered lumps? It's more bars of soap. Why is his name Shamspear, not Soapspear? Sham soap. Sham wow. Soap? What are bars of soap doing lined up on a ledge outside the window? I have no idea. But the pair of them look rather charming like that. Still, that's very strange, isn't it? Bars of soap lined up outside the window? Think perhaps we should take one. There are two, after all. Oh dear, I suppose we could. Oh, what's this? Look here at the soap. Ah! You see in the middle there? There's a patch that's different color. It's sort of transparent, but... some sort of fancy design, I suppose. Only in Great Britain. It looks like the Hinomaru flag of Japan, doesn't it? How wonderful. Probably a very expensive band. Expensive? Then what's it doing in this ramshackle old room? Are you sure it's not a button to make the soap explode? Or is a different color? It's exquisite design, isn't it? Trust the British to turn a boring bar of soap into something special. I quite like it. Reminds me of the Hinomaru design of the Japanese flag. This place is rather expensive soap. Doesn't seem likely given who it belongs to. No, it's clearly been wedged in there, guys. What are you talking about? Alright, whatever. Here we have another disproportionately large machine. Looks like a meter of some kind. Ah, this is a gas meter, I think. In this district, residents pay for gas as they use it with coins. Yeah, I see. Now you pointed it out, I can see there's a slot here to just look like it would take a coin. I mean, if you put a coin here... That's right. That would buy you about 2 hours of gas for lights and heating. So if you were a poor person with no money, you'd have to sleep in the freezing cold? Yeah. Or if you're a scatterbrain with no change because you forgot to exchange money at the bank. Thank goodness there's no meter in our office. Though there are crazy people there. Some sort of makeshift stage, I think, isn't it? Where's the audience sit, though? For the nightly Shakespeare performances. Did they forget to change it to Shamspeare? Because that just says Shakespeare. Uh-oh. Are they gonna get in trouble for this? I thought I was reading it wrong at first, but that definitely says Shakespeare. Gotta collect the evidence. Actors aspiring to a great stage must practice their art, Mr. Naruhodo, with or without an audience. In fact, on a related note, perhaps you should set up a mock bench for the defense in your office. I kinda just do whatever comes to mind, though, so I don't know if that'd help. I mean, who could come up with a parrot showing up to court? Then you could practice your art every single day. I'll think about it, if you promise to don a beard and play the role of the judge. Well, if that would help you achieve your goal. This I have to see. Does she get to play every role? She already gets to play the lawyer role later. Gatwall light, isn't it? Must be connected to a gas pipe in the wall that we already examined. Gas lights, a gas stove. London really is a city of gas. Now I think about it, Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb had an open fire on the top floor, didn't they? Oh yes, you're right. I don't recall seeing a gas stove up there. I much prefer a real fire anyway. So much cozier. And, you know, not as pricey. This is Mad Hatter outfit. Look, extravagant bright costumes. Somehow they look out of place in this room with its grim and shady going-on. This one looks like a king's attire. A king? Well, I dreamt of being a king. Oh, I think you'd be more suited as a feudal lord. A dynamo or such like. I mean, at least she didn't just outright say you'd be better as a jester. That's where I expected her to go with that. For the con mage top knot, every Japanese man wishes to have you at con mage. Oh, you'd look wonderful with one. You already have the sword. Can you imagine what that would happen if I walked around the streets of London with a con mage and a sword? I don't know what that is. I know what a top knot is, but... Oh, the poor man, so young to die. You suppose it was a very painful death being poisoned as he was? I don't know. I've only been poisoned once. All we can do now is hope he'll be reborn to a better life. Maybe into a spear that shakes or something, instead of such a sham. I suppose you're right, I wonder. Do you think that putting on our hands together in Japanese prayer will help the British soul? Sorry? I made sure I had a reference ready for such an occasion as this, actually. This book is entitled The Beginner's Guide to Praying for the Departed, the British Way. First, drink 3 cups of soapy tea. I'll just reread it now. One moment. There's quite a spine on that book, isn't there? I forgot this thing was on the ground. What's this? Looks like a part of an envelope, I think. I think you might be right. Perhaps it's torn off when a letter was opened. Is that significant? It's this universe, so every small thing is probably significant. Well, it's a little out of place perhaps when you look around the room. There's no sign of a letter. Or the rest of the envelope, in fact, is there? Yeah, she's right. Yeah, here we have a torn off end of an envelope. This strikes me as unusual. Yeah, I agree. Better take this just in case. The teacup? I guess? One of the teacups that Mr. Shakespeare and his guest drank from last night. But don't go drinking from them, Mr. Naruhodo. There's a bitter poison inside. I'm not planning on drinking any, don't worry. Anyway, the cups are both empty. That's true. So, one was Mr. Shakespeare. The other must be a cup that Mr. Natsume was drinking from. But Soseki wasn't poisoned, of course. How should we take these so we can examine them in more detail later? Or leave them for the cops? Okay, whatever. Looks like you're having a good snoop around, eh? Back to Gregson. Back so soon? After I threw that Japanese fella in the clink, I went and reported this to the investigation division. 5 minutes time, this place will be cordoned off by the yard. Oh, I see. Well, we better be leaving then, with our incriminating evidence in our pockets. Poor Mr. Natsume was feeling very low, being back in the cell again so soon. We should probably go and... Does no one ever just check if a person has a heartbeat in this yard? What's wrong, Mr. Naruhodo? Out, out, brief candle, life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage and then is heard no more. Now, how soundeth the next part? That's a tale told by an idiot full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Indeed, oh happy day. What? Walking Dead? Acting dead. And he just felt like his puppet got his strings cut off. The fella isn't dead at all. Why did you not check that? Why does no one check this? Like, first Miss Green got stabbed in the back and they just moved her and was like, ah, she's probably dead. She's got a knife in her back, that's an instant kill. This guy was just sleeping at his table. What was that nonsense he was saying, though? I think, yes, it was from William Shakespeare's Macbeth. Oh, so Shakespeare does exist. This guy is just a bootleg. And not like Sholmes is. It's not, he's not just, you know, decaf Shakespeare. He's actually just a sham. And here I thought it would be legally distinct. A soliloquy from Act 5, Scene 5. Shakespeare? So it was that the victim, Mr. William Shamspeare, came back to life. Man had indeed been poisoned. It transpired that it hadn't killed him. He was taken by emergency carriage to the nearby hospital for treatment. And Inspector Gregson evicted us from the scene of the crime. Whatever that now was. Yeah, this is not Shakespeare, but he's also not Shakespeare. Who's this guy? He has Sora boots. I don't know if you can see his shoes properly with how the screen is sized, but he has Sora shoes under the chat bar. Whatever you think will happen now? At this point, I'm not even sure we're gonna have a case. The guy's not dead. Good question. What a strange situation for Mr. Natsume. Arrested for murder, but then the victim comes back to life. Which has happened twice, actually. I think perhaps the victim was never dead in the first place, much like the first time this happened. I want whoever is in charge of this road to be fired. It's very likely that Mr. Shamspeare did consume poison, as we deduced, but it was an accident, attempted suicide, or attempted murder. Till the truth can be established, I imagine the police will keep Mr. Natsume in custody. I suppose so. Let's hope it doesn't come to anything more than a night in the cells. Oh, what's this? What's that man doing over there? His chin looks familiar. Looks like he's trying to see into Soseki's lodgings, but also, he's got a really bad set of eyes if you can't see that they're bricked off. Hello, Emmy. Hope you're having a good day. Something wrong, Mr. Naruhodo? Yeah, excuse me, can we have a word? Ah! Ah! Now I'm over here. He just ran off. Feel sure I've seen that man somewhere before. Where was it? His chin looked really familiar. I do too, but I don't remember. Where did we see him before? Also, were those doors always broken? You know, right here? Yeah, I'm trying to remember what he was. Was he the mailman? I hate this road. Except in the top floor, Mr. and Mrs. Garrett live, all the windows are bricked up. Yeah, that's because of an old window tax that was charged on the number of windows property had. In order to pay less tax, the poor members' society filled in many of their windows. The tax has since been abolished, hasn't it? So the windows could all be opened up again, surely. Unfortunately, it appears that the residents of this district can't afford to pay to have the work done. Even though, you know, realistically, in a fair government, they would just do it themselves. Yeah, it's a sad state of affairs. Especially for people like poor Mr. Natsume who have to live all cooped up in a windowless room. Suppose that's the price you pay for living in a very cheap accommodation. Seems rather pointless when you put it like that. I've seen to be a bicycle outside of Mr. Garrett's residence. I read the bicycles are extremely popular all over the Great Britain at the moment, in fact. This one seems very warped though, especially the front wheel. Not to make room for the challenge to ride, do you think? No, I'm afraid that may be a result of the rider's incompetence. For the front wheel to be so badly warped, I'm afraid the rider may have been similarly affected. Sasato, please. There's a good chance Mr. Natsume's been practicing on this bicycle, I think. Ryu, please! He's not even here! And he's been arrested! He's already dead inside! Stop killing him! Oh dear, I fear you may be right. I don't know what's worse, that he said it or that she agreed with him instantly. Hey, I'm a snowman. Why has somebody built this snowman on some sort of pedestal, do you think? That's not a pedestal, Mr. Naruhodo. That's part of the snowman's body. Really? It already has a perfectly good body. Well, it's true that British snowmen usually made it with 2 balls of snow. Perhaps this is a foreigner. Yeah, we're looking at him as if he's strange. Poor man. I know how he feels. If anything, it's Japanese and British 2-ball snowmen and their strange one, isn't it? After all, real people do have 3 sections: head, torso, and legs. You ever think perhaps you think about things too much? In this world? No. The snowman will probably be our witness to a case. At some point. Gardev household, Mr. Natsume's lodgings, are a prominent position here in the corner. Then when I look at this building, I can't help feeling that it's a bit slant. It does rather look as though it would collapse even in the smallest earthquake, doesn't it? Yeah, he's not wrong, actually. If you look at the bar on the left side, it does look like it's tilting the building to the right. Is it supposed to be haunted as well? I think I might have a hunch as to why Soseki is such a hunchback. Done anything interesting? No, I never do anything interesting. Yeah, I played this game, and if this game is interesting to you, you can buy it for the cheap, cheap price of a number of dollars for your local Switch. Oh, that does remind me, real quick. Pokemon Unite has Pikachu in a hat. I figured you all deserve to know that. Also, they put Paper Mario, the first one, on the Nintendo 64 console thing. But we've already played that, I think? We did play that, right? I remember we played Thousand Year Door and Super Paper Mario. But, you know, I don't know. But they also announced that Banjo-Kazooie is coming out next month. And we'll probably play that. Goodbye, Emmy. Thanks for stopping by. I'll still be here when you get done, I'm sure. Here we are again. The eccentric landlord's eccentric top floor abode. We're here because Mr. Garrett was the one who discovered the incident this morning. Don't forget.
Ah, you chaps, eh?
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Thank you for your cooperation in the court yesterday.
Forgot that he looks like a moon. A crescent moon. It was quite a trial. Much for Mr. Garrett as anyone, really.
James right back here after all the business with Bailey yesterday. Didn't expect to wake up to more Bailey nonsense this morning.
I wonder if you wouldn't mind telling us exactly what happened, Mr. Garrett?
Yes, I suppose you'd like to know all about that dead loss of an actor, the chap in the ground floor room.
Those were exactly Inspector Gregson's words, weren't they? Where did he put that cup? There was no table there. It just kind of evaporated. I also don't like his front view. Maybe this place is actually haunted and he's working with the ghost. And that's why it's so cheap to live here. Must have been a real shock for you this morning. Hear that you discovered what happened. By the way, he's not dead. I'm just gonna ignore that part, though.
Ah, well, that hopeless actor chap rises at 5 o'clock sharp every morning without fail. After 5:30 this morning, he still hadn't lit the gas. So I went down, knocked on his door, but no Molly answer.
And that's when you broke into his room by kicking down the door?
Well, I called in that rum-looking Japanese chap to do the grunt work, of course.
Wasn't it a little premature to kick the door down? Man could have just overslept by half an hour. That's very true, Mr. Naruhodo. And also, true that's kind of what happened, anyways. If 30 members oversee me warrant such behavior, I'd have to kick your door down every morning. We live in the same room, though.
Ah, well, you know, better safe than sorry and all that.
Just me, or is he avoiding our gaze now all of a sudden? Except that it was a sorry situation indeed that you found on the far side of the door. Nickname name is Mr. Shakespeare, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, very fitting. William Shakespeare took the ground floor room 3 months ago now.
And how would you describe him?
In a word, destitute.
Ouch. I hope that's never a word you guys can describe me with. Destitute?
Well, let's face it, the only redeeming feature of that room is the cheap rent. Anyone want to live in a place like that is either broke or has a bally screw loose.
Or he's selling drugs through bars of soap. And using the broken window in the brick wall to transfer those drugs to whoever was just there a minute ago. I'm just saying words out loud. Trying to predict the future, as always. Because they didn't really identify what was in there. Oh, hard to choose which category Saseki would fall into. So Naruhodo, that's a little rude. I don't want to hear that from you. We were just commenting on his warped behavior. And also stop reading my mind.
We were doing research as well.
Research into what?
Shakespeare, of course, Shakespeare. Read a few plays of the old bard myself, you know. Romeo and Hamlet and all that.
It was Romeo and Juliet. William Shakespeare is England's most highly regarded classical playwright and author. He's known as Sao in Japan, you know. Sword Art Online, that is. And many of his works have already been translated. Or isekai'd. For you commoners out there. No, it's Romeo and Hamlet. Yes, my mistake. Seems incredible that Shakespeare is shortened to Sao, though. Someone's too heavy-handed there. A lot of costumes in the victim's room, actually, weren't there? Of course, Mr. Natsume is a scholar of England literature as well. Imagine he and Mr. Shakespeare would have much in common. Shakespeare interpretation agreement leads to shocking murder. Let's hope it's not that. Mr. Naruhodo, really? How rude. Stop reading my brain, that's also rude. If you're not paying rent in my head, stop reading my thoughts. After Mr. Natsume's trial yesterday, you came straight back here, I believe, didn't you? You notice anything strange between then and this morning?
Well, now, it must have been about 6 in the evening by the time I got home. Snow was coming down rather heavily, as I remember. It was completely dark already. That failed actor chap was out at the time.
Mr. Garrett noticed there was no light from his room or something, I suppose.
Couldn't summon the energy for anything much, so I just sat in front of the fire up here. After 8 before Shakespeare got back. And the chap was up until past 1 in the morning, I'll have you know. Suppose he met his end sometime after that. I was asleep by then, so I'm rather in the dark there.
Oh, thank you, that was very illuminating. Much like that fire. Also, where's his wife? Everything alright, Mrs. Sada? Well, I was just thinking it's a little strange, that's all. Mr. Garrett, you were up here in your room all evening, if I understood correctly.
Not a big fan of stairs, not with his blasted leg.
Then... how is it that you seem to know? Precise movements of your tenant on the ground floor, I mean.
Well...
That's a very good point. Can't imagine you could hear noises from the ground floor all the way up here. Does this old man like to spy on his tenants? Is that it? Also, he just broke his pipe?
I say, I know what you're thinking. It's probably outrage. I'm ex-military, you know. Don't go spying on my tenants. Why would I?
Everyone just read my mind. It's like, am I a book? Am I an open book? How did you know, Mr. Garrett?
It's the gas, woman. The gas tells me everything.
The gas? Speaking gas? No, it's called laughing gas. What on earth do you mean, sir? How can the gas tell you anything? Let alone everything? I'm a full manga. Oh no. They can't... It's not only they can read what I'm thinking, they can see what I'm thinking too. It's got pictures, man. Pictures.
Well, as you're probably aware, the gas is supplied to the building by pipes.
Yeah, I'd more or less worked that out. That's how gas works, yeah. Every room in the building is connected by a single pipe to the gas main outside. The gas company supplies gas to properties via the main. Yes, I understand that too. You don't need to spell it out for me. And you spell main M-A-I-N.
Let me see if I can explain. Let's say I would light the gas and lamps here. What do you suppose would happen?
Well, obviously the room would get brighter.
Exactly. But at the same time, the lights in all the other rooms of the house would dim for a moment.
What? They dim? Why? Perhaps it's because when you light a gas lamp, it briefly uses more gas than usual. That reduces the amount of gas in the pipe for the other lamps that are connected to it. That might explain why the other lamps dim momentarily, mightn't it? Yeah, of course, because everything's connected to a single supply pipe, but also mightn't it? I don't think that's a word. Is that supposed to happen, though? Sounds rather undesirable.
Jolly good point. Fact is, gas companies' pipes these parts are pretty hopeless. Long worn out. Barely got any gas in them to start with. Opposite's also true, of course. Extinguish the lamps up here and they glow brighter with the rest of the house.
Oh, right, I see. By watching the flickering of the lamps in one room, you can determine what's happening elsewhere.
You've got it.
Oh, of course, because when people come back home in the evening and before they go to sleep at night, what they're guaranteed to do is either light or put out their lamps and fires. Clever.
In point of fact, the room on the ground floor and the one above it use slightly different amounts of gas. Watching the lights here closely, I can work out almost just exactly what's going on in the whole house.
Gosh, that's fascinating, Mr. Garrett. Absolutely fascinating.
Oh well, nothing to it really. Just spying on my tenants. One of which I almost got convicted for murder that he had nothing to do with at all.
I can't really see it's going to help us with the case either. It will. Everything comes to fruition in the end. Surely he should have learned this by now. Well, I'd like to know why Mr. Garrett's so interested in what his tenants are up to in the first place. I feel like there's more to it than out of curiosity. Well, we've done as much investigating here as we can, I think. Guess we ought to go to the prison and speak with Mr. Natsume. Again. A good idea. But also, where's his wife? Is she, like, not around? Hills look like they've been completely torn apart by the wild beast.
Remind me of the Battle of Manamon, don't you know?
Appears to have seen veteran.
Enemy has surrounded on all sides. We really thought we were done for. The whole body company. Taking a real pounding from their cannons. So all we can do is run for our lives.
Oh, I thought that story was going a different direction, actually.
Well, the whole experience taught me one thing, I can tell you. When you're done for, you're really done for.
Ugh, that's not what a lawyer who often finds himself under fire wants to hear. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to tell. It's weird that they wouldn't mention her, though, because she just fainted yesterday. Since she found out that she was the cause for Miss Green to get stabbed. If you needed reminders of that. Look, Mr. Naruhodo. Mr. Natsume, have the police finished questioning you now? Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire. Yeah? What is he? Tell me, is he a ghost? Is he here to haunt me? Let me guess, you're talking about Mr. Sholmes? He actually calls himself a great detective, Mr. Natsume, not a ghost. But his diabolical deductions, they're not of this world. They've left me. Cursed! I'm cursed, I tell you. Yeah, that sort of hurts. Credit where credit is due, Mr. Naruhodo. You were heavily involved in the deduction, too. Yeah, moving on, before he realizes that. We have some wonderful news! Oh? The victim we all thought was dead has come back to life again! That's That's not wonderful news at all. No, I have a zombie neighbor.
Yeah, in the absolute worst case, you can only be tried for attempted murder. That's, great, isn't it, Mr. Natsume?
It's terrible. I'm stuck in the cell, suffering for some silly wrong end of the stick. You did it, didn't you? Confess, you're a killer. Why the mustache? Constant questions.
I'm sorry to hear that.
That's selfish, shyster. Make up your mind. Are you dead or alive? Alive or dead? If you were going to come back to life, why bother dying? Wickedly wishy-washy William.
Yeah, he's got a point. Just mimic you're a ghost, right? If you were gonna die, if you're gonna come back to life, why'd you bother dying? So next time you see a zombie, just ask them that. Seems that Mr. Shakespeare was never actually dead in the first place.
Ah, yes, that might make sense. Somewhere. I'm pleased that he's alive, of course. Our lively debate last night was so much fun. I'd be sad to think it was our last.
Oh,
Oops.
Mr. Natsume, does this mean you did see the victim last night? You met with Mr. Shakespeare, didn't you?
I'm not saying another word. I demand to have a lawyer present.
I am a lawyer present. Who do you think I am? Please, Mr. Natsume, we need to hear your side of the story.
Oh, fine. Why am I cursed like this?
Yeah, I might be a lawyer present, but I guess I'm not that gifted. You know exactly what happened last night then, Mr. Natsume?
There's nothing to tell. But, Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire, I'm eternally grateful for you helping me with that accursed case yesterday.
Case of someone wore Miss Green hospitalized after she ended up with a knife in her back. Hard to believe that was only yesterday.
Almost as if it should have been months ago. After the trial was over, I trudged my way back to my lowly lodgings. That evening at past 9 it must have been. I visited Mr. Shakespeare.
Then you did go to the victim's room then.
As we feared. I didn't do anything wrong. I'd never been to his room before. It was the first time.
And what made you decide to go?
I bumped into him when I arrived back at the house. We got chatting and developed into a discussion. But he had to go out, so I bade him farewell.
That ties with what Mr. Garrett said. Victim went out and came back after 8.
Met again later that evening at around 9 or just after. When I took him some nice tea I'd brewed as a gift.
It was you who brought the tea that clearly had been drunk at the scene then.
And I suppose you were discussing the works of Shakespeare, were you? Yes, that's right. Exactly right. Romeo and Juliet and Hamlet, who was the stronger? It was a delightful debate.
Wait, what? Romeo and Juliet, who was stronger? I mean... Who died second? I think it was Juliet. So probably her, I would say. Yeah, let's debate the Shakespeare power level. Who's the strongest Shakespeare character? Is it Hamlet? Macbeth? Romeo? Juliet? I can't remember his other place.
It was a delightful debate.
I'm sure. Because discussing power levels never goes bad.
Such stimulating subject, Shakespeare.
And the debate became very heated, so you slipped poison to Mr. Shakespeare's tea?
No, never. Not at all. Team Juliet won. That was me, and when I left his room.
Oh, I don't know if I should be happy I agree with him that Juliet was stronger.
The flamboyant fellow was fighting fit. I swear it, categorically.
Cursed existence. Mr. Natsume, you also say the same thing about yourself, I've noticed. That you have a cursed existence.
I'm sure I've mentioned this to you before, but I've been here in Great Britain for a year now, and in that time I've learned that's no place for me.
Be very trying to live in a foreign land and adapt to the ways of another culture.
There are foreigners everywhere I look, and they all stare at me. They all laugh. That's the impression I get whenever I go out. Makes me scared to leave my room. Which is why I become a recluse, but even in my room I find no respite from my fears. I've moved up more times than I can remember. And then 1 week ago, I moved onto the road.
But why? I mean, why'd you choose that place? Doesn't seem very comfortable.
Because the rent is cheap. I have so little money, it spoke to me.
The rent?
Obviously, there's a reason why it's cheap. Because the room is cursed.
Cursed? Cursed how?
Previous occupant, the man who lived there before I took the room, died there.
Oh. Oh no. There's a ghost.
Oh no. He was only a young man, but one morning he was found dead and no one could explain why. Surely no one would want to live in a room with this history like that. I'm sorry, but you stole my line, Ryunosuke, Naruhodo, Esquire. I didn't. When the lodging agent recommended the place, I wavered. But I want books, and books cost money. A horrible history is a small price to pay.
Well, technically books are horrible histories, but whatever.
When I realized it would mean I could buy more books, I signed the lease like lightning.
Brave or blinkered? What does blinkered mean? Stupid old-timey words.
But after I moved in, I soon came to realize what I'd done. I realized how horrible that room is. His history really was.
Gosh, was it really so awful? How did the room's horrible history affect you, Mr. Natsume? What happened?
At first, it was just a feeling. The feeling of beady eyes boring into my back, watching me.
You think that might have just been your mind playing tricks on you? Also, we didn't feed your cat, by the way. We forgot.
No. My mind doesn't know any tricks. It can do sick flips, though, on skateboards. It was someone else. It's been one long nightmare ever since I was given keys to the place.
Nightmare? You've been having bad dreams, you mean?
All the souls who have died in that room lean over me in my sleep and try to strangle me.
That really is horrible.
And now I've come to think of it. It happened again last night, too. Very same night that Mr. Shakespeare was writhing in agony from the poison in his body. I was on the verge of being suffocated silently by those miserable spirits in my room.
Simply must move out of the room as soon as possible, and into the one where the guy died. Or didn't die.
Yes, you're right, I know it, and that's why. I am already searching for the next room with a history to call home.
I think perhaps you should try to avoid combination with any kind of history at all. Otherwise, I'm scared that yourself may become history.
Sasato, please.
Like, the guy's already shaking in his boots. Ew, Sasato knows how to make the man listen.
Of course. Mr. Lord of the Manor is worried about the curse on my room as well.
Is he Mr. Garadeb?
Yes, he knows that if people keep dying there, he'll never be able to rent it out again.
Well, that's true. I, for one, wouldn't go near the place. Even though I was literally just there. Ah, perhaps that may explain why the landlord pays so much attention to the gas lamps and his tenants' movements. I mean, because he's worried about their well-being? He does seem to have an unusually keen interest in the amount of gas in the pipes. Must be a reason why he keeps such close tabs on the occupants of his let rooms.
What do you mean, he pays so much attention to the gas lamps?
Oh dear, no, it's nothing to do with you, Mr. Natsume. Please forget I said anything.
Oh, now you're talking about me behind my back as well. And talking like me in front of me.
It's important that Mr. Shakespeare isn't in fact dead at all. Once he's come around and he's able to tell us what happened, we'll be able to get you released.
Yes, please. Oh, I do hope you're right.
Excuse me. Inspector Gregson, couldn't help overhearing what you just said. And on that note, some good news and some bad news. Which one do you want first?
Always, every time, the bad news comes first. When hope is all you have, hold on to it. That's my guiding principle.
Ah, right, well, good news it is.
Huh?
Sorry, but it's just a lot easier to explain everything that way.
Oh. Then why did you ask me my preference?
As you might have heard, the victim, Mr. Shakespeare, was just unconscious. He's come around now. Yeah, we saw it happen in all his terrifying glory. He's still being treated by the doctors, but we managed to get him a writing statement from him already.
Oh, isn't that wonderful, Mr. Natsume? Thank goodness, it's all over then. I can leave this somber cell.
Sorry, no, that's not on the cards.
What? Why ever not, Inspector?
Mr. Shakespeare has implicated someone as being responsible for what happened there last night. Implicated someone? Oh no.
Oh dear. You don't mean...
Sorry to say I do, yeah. I pointed the finger at you, Mr. Natsume.
Ugh!
By sweet poison did he seek to end my life, thou wickedest caitiff, Soseki Natsume. No! Afraid you'll be appearing in court as planned. You'll be wanting to make the necessary preparations.
No.
And so, once again, Soseki found himself having to take the dock in the Old Bailey. Whether his room was haunted, or whether he was just terribly unlucky, I knew I had no choice. Following day, I would represent him in court, and do my utmost to break the curse that blighted him.
Why can't people just tell the truth? Is that so difficult?
Defendant's antechamber.
But you just told the truth, Reese Lane. Which means it's not that easy. Or difficult. Or one of the two. I can't words.
Old Bailey. Place always makes me feel strange. Seem to get chills down my spine and break out a nervous sweat all at the same time. Well, I didn't think I'd be back here so soon.
That's my line. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Natsume.
It was only 2 days ago that I was declared not guilty here.
Yeah, we somehow managed to prove he didn't stab Miss Green in the back.
But now this.
1 second.
Another morning, another murder, and here I am again in the cell hole. Can't keep coming to court.
And you think he's right. It really does seem as though he's cursed.
Mr. Naruhodo, I'm afraid I have bad news.
Oh.
Mr. Natsume, good morning. Oh, yes, morning. So, here we are again. Yes, again. Judicial Assistant Miss Mokutama Esquires, what's the bad news? Oh dear, you heard, did you? You've come in shouting at the top of your voice. Can't be helping hear what you say. Oh, I'm sorry.
Nothing wrong, Mrs. Sato. Now, what is it?
Oh no, is Shakespeare dead? Well, seems that the prosecution today's trial will be led by Lord Barak von Zeeks.
Well, yeah? Who else would it be? Van Zeeks?
Ugh! No, no. Oh no, oh no, oh no.
So-called Reaper of the Bailey. Most legendary prosecutor in the land.
No, like, who else would it be? I don't know any other prosecutor here. Also, he hates the Nipponese. Also, hang on. Penny wants out. I will be right back.
Sorry about the extended wait there. Penny had an accident as she was going to the door. She still has some real issues holding herself back. Like, as soon as she starts moving, if she has to go, she just goes. Ah, well. So I cleaned that up. But I'm back. Yes, that kind of accident. The accident of I had a puddle in my room for a second. Not a poodle, a puddle. In the trial 2 days ago, we pursued Saseki and I relentlessly. Of course, by the skin of our teeth. We managed to pull through, but still. Perhaps Mr. Natsume's acquittal in the last trial wasn't the end of the matter. After all. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. That legend of the Reaper says, nothing can save a person in the dock when Lord Van Zeeks is the prosecutor. Oh no! And even if a person is found not guilty, the accused will meet a mysterious end one way or another. You experienced it firsthand. Man, we successfully defended and met the most terrifying end after his acquittal, right here in the Old Bailey. Which, you know, we'll find out the truth of that later. Ugh! Do I have to put up with those ice-cold eyes? Boring into my soul again. Cursed by evil spirits and now by the Reaper. Pair of petrifying perils, potentially. Well, if it's potentially, at least you appear to have hope, Mr. Natsume. Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire. Yeah? I'm innocent, you have to believe me. You, more than anyone now. Don't worry. I'll be your steadfast ally every step of the way in this battle. I promise. This promises to be a hard battle, I fear. Well, trial's scheduled to begin shortly. We should move on to the courtroom. Let's go! Oh, yeah, I forgot to say, I'm afraid he won't be able to make it. Mr. Sholmes, I mean. Honestly, you could have started with that. That's the good news. I mean, that's probably for the best. Oh. If he were here, I might be tempted to rely on his help. And that could be seen as weakness. If Lord Van Zeeks were to notice, he'd prey on it mercilessly. At least, that's my gut feeling. Mr. Naruhodo. You're right. Yes, you're so right. Oh, well said, locum student Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire. Well said. Swearing the sword of my side and the spirit of Kazuma that it harbors, even though I said that's in the armband. I'll show him what a Japanese lawyer can do. I'll set you free with honor. Oh, yes. That is the end of the statement. Just oh and yes. We're back in the Old Bailey. I hate the jury already. I recognize like 3 people in the jury and I already hate them. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare the court to be in session. I wonder if we'll get to meet the Queen at some point. Wouldn't that be interesting? Now call upon the counsels of prosecution defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is ready. The defense is ready, my lord. Readiness for the trial, my learned Nipponese friend, is not what the defense needs. What you need is readiness for your inevitable defeat. You said that last time and I won, so shut up. Not just my imagination, it's really there. Lord Van Zeeks has such an animosity towards us Japanese for some reason. It was some time ago now he became known as the Reaper of the Bailey, I believe. These past few years he hasn't appeared in court at all. And now he's back in the courtroom, though for some reason, only when I'm defending. It's almost like they couldn't hire someone else to do this. This Reaper, with his curious disdain for us Japanese, is a prosecutor shrouded in mystery. Whew. Still, this isn't the time to be pondering that. I have to concentrate on Soseki's trial.
Furthermore, now call upon 6 ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Been chosen at random to represent the will of the people this trial. I call for a recount. Who would say this is random? I know most of these people.
Are you ready to fulfill your duty? Absolutely. If feeling Larkin wasn't innocent before.
I must say, I feel especially ruthless on days when my hat refuses to sit right. What? Your hat's... well, I really like how you're wearing a hat. I think the ruthlessness is very fetching, actually. Oh, I need to be somewhere at 10 o'clock. I have a very important meeting. Let's make this quick. Then this lady is new, but she's literally just Cruella de Vil. Just blonde.
I couldn't agree more. Take 5 bob tonight and missus will go through the roof.
Oh, may the Lord show us all the light here, and may leaders flock to a righteous verdict. The British jury system is so very different to our own, isn't it? We don't have a jury system. I extraordinarily think the power of the judgment is in the hands of 6 members of the public, who we've seen like a billion times, and the judge can only pass sentence when all jurors are in agreement with the defendant's guilt. Next sentence of London chosen at random, or at least, that's the idea.
The prosecution will draw attention to the fact that the accused was on trial here but 2 days ago. Accordingly, where possible, the same jurors have been asked to return for duty today.
Why? That's going to have them biased. Honestly, it'll have them more biased towards him being innocent, because clearly he was innocent before. And that's a bad system.
Very well, let's commence the trial. Lord Van Zeek, your opening statement, please.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, it is not the intent of the prosecution to cast doubt over your past decision. However, the innocent verdict afforded this eccentric Nipponese before has had dire consequences. Did the accused repent for his wrongdoing in that affair? Far from it. Instead, he used his freedom to perpetrate the most blood-curdling crime. Even though he was innocent, completely and totally innocent before, he decided to go out and stab or poison someone? Yeah, that doesn't... That's not how people work. Usually. Namely that attempted murder of his neighboring lodger, an innocent Englishman. To explain the circumstances of the crime, the prosecution calls its first witness to the stand. Whoosh. The detective responsible for investigating the scene and the accused himself. Shouldn't Garrett be here? He was also a witness. Witnesses, your name and occupations, please. Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector, Scotland Yard's Homicide Division. Ah, here's Suseki Natsume from the Empire of Japan. My government ordered me to come here as a student, study your language and culture.
Mr. Natsume.
Yes, my lord, sir.
I'm quite sure I'm not mistaken. Are you sworn oath never to set foot in my courtroom again? I remember if it were yesterday.
Oh, wait, it was.
The day before, in fact, my lord, but close enough.
Believe me, this is the last place I want to be.
Inspector, let us hear from you first. Explain the case of the court.
There you are, sir. Okay. Ahem. It's in a Kurta household where the defendant has lodgings. How did I get this light here? The ground floor of the victim, Mr. William Shakespeare. Defendant has already admitted his visiting the victim on the night in question. Mr. Shakespeare collapsed in his room and was poisoned by Strychnine? Strychnine? How do I say that word? I have the feeling it's gonna come up again. The Strychnine? I don't think I've heard of that poison before. He was found the following morning when the landlord, suspecting something was wrong, broke down the door. Natsume broke down the door, but sure.
This means, I presume, that the door to the victim's room was locked at the time of the incident? Correct, my lord. It was locked from the inside, making entry to or exit from the room impossible. Feels like that comes up a lot in this game. Although the victim, Mr. Shakespeare, lives to tell the tale, he very nearly didn't. The man was halfway to heaven when he first found him. And we didn't check to see if he had, I don't know, a heartbeat or something. Or was breathing. I was the first officer on the scene, my lord. I have a photographic print here that took at the time to show how it looked. This is not correct. This is not a correct representation of what it was at all. That hat is far too much to the right, and his soap is far too much to the left. Granted, my angle was different too, but I also don't remember that spill on the floor. Also, his ear is very defined. It also kind of looks like it's on his neck. Which is gross. But, you know, characters have that sometimes. Yes, a chilling scene indeed. Man looks very much deceased. No, he doesn't. For all intents and purposes, he does not look deceased. He looks like he's taking a nap. That's right, everyone present believed that's exactly what he was, because no one has any medical knowledge. Very well, accept this photograph print as evidence for the court. Now then, Mr. Natsume. Ah, yes. Yes. As offended, do you have anything to say at this juncture? I didn't do it. They're haunted. Haunted by evil spirits. Good gracious, what's haunted? My lodgings. There's been a whole series of strange happenings at my lodgings. The tenant before me died in mysterious circumstances. A woman was stabbed by no one on the street outside. My neighbor was poisoned. And me? What about me? I've nearly been killed countless times. Killed, Mr. Natsume? How? Even on that fateful night it happened, when I returned from Mr. Shakespeare's room. I lit my gas stove and climbed into bed. But before long, the stove went out. And somebody tried to kill me. Must always extinguish all fires before retiring for the night, Mr. Natsume. But it's so cold, my runny nose would freeze. The point is, I didn't poison my neighbor. Oh, why am I being accused of this? Why is my existence so cursed? Thank you, witnesses. I believe I have a reasonably clear picture of events. No, you don't. Your clear events are as clear as those bricked windows. If I could raise one more point, my lord, one more conclusive point. Conclusive? Go on. Fortunately, the victim, Mr. Shakespeare, has regained consciousness after his ordeal. He has named the true culprit. The poison consumed by the victim was administered a cup of tea that he drank the night in question. Tea, my lord, that was brought to the victim's room by the accused. The accused? Good gracious. Order in the court. Yeah, that's the crux of this whole case. If Saseki is innocent, then why? Why has the victim accused him? Well, Mr. Natsume, have you anything to say to this accusation? That evening, yes, I did take some freshly brewed tea with me when I visited Mr. Shakespeare's room as a gift. The public water pump outside always freezes at night, so I bought bottled water especially to make it. And this is the result. Never will I touch tea again, never. Public pump was frozen, you say? That's not information we've heard before. That will do, thank you. Now, according to our laws, the defense must have the opportunity to cross-examine the witnesses at least once. Therefore, I call upon the witnesses now for a formal testimony. I presume the prosecution has no objection. None whatsoever, my lord. Good. Now you will give your account of events on the night in question in the court now. Yeah. Yes, my lord. I mean, it do, I guess. I don't have to say yes. You take me for granted, I guess. You know? It's fine. Oh, actually, real quick, I forgot. I got a +1 because I got the book thing wrong. I don't really want to count it, but I did technically get it wrong by not looking at it first. I did take a hit. There goes my perfect Ace Attorney record.
Sholmes left me in shambles. It was wrong 9 o'clock that evening when I visited my neighbor, and I took some tea with me as a gift. We had heated literary debate over a nice hot drink, after which I went back to my room at around 11. Ugh, my tea was completely harmless. He couldn't have locked the door behind me otherwise, could he?
And then it takes some time to have an effect on the body. People don't feel it immediately after taking it. Victor would have been perfectly able to lock the door after his guest left. The argument still stands. Yes, I see. All seems relatively straightforward.
Excuse me, but testimony does raise one rather crucial point, I think. Mr. Natsume claims his hot tea could have been harmless. Presumably, though, the tea have been examined for traces of the poison, haven't they?
Why didn't I think of that?
Hello, Random. Welcome back to court. Guess who's back? Back again. It's Natsume. He's our friend? We're in a flashback thing. Which part was lies? That he's our friend? I mean, he seems to think so. All of it. I don't believe you. That must be the lie. Sorry, I was checking a thing. As it happens, no, we haven't been able to, because, you stole them. I think we didn't notice that.
I hear you correctly, Inspector. Scotland Yard has failed to examine the suspected substance.
How could you have overlooked something so important? Isn't that the first thing you should have done? My learned Nipponese friend is falsely incensed. The inspector said Scotland Yard was unable to examine the tea, not that it was overlooked. Unable? Why? Simple enough. There was none left. Not a drop. Someone must have been very thirsty indeed. With the current scientific techniques, it's not possible to test for poison under such circumstances. This is such baloney. There was tea on the table. I don't know if you can see it in this picture. No, it doesn't look like it. But there was tea, like, right in front of his face. He just said it was herbal tea. But for you, Random, there was a man here. His name is Shakespeare. William Shakespeare. And he was poisoned and presumed to be dead. As it turns out, he is not dead. Also, he is not a fake Shakespeare, because Shakespeare exists in this universe, unlike Sholmes. His name is just Shakespeare, and he's an aspiring actor. But he's alive, surprisingly. They only need a drop, but that one drop does actually have to exist, funnily enough. Lack of examination notwithstanding, it appears that nothing other than tea passed the victim's lips on the night in question, even though he had a fork in hand.
I see, thank you. Matter's clear.
Cast your eyes over the jury, my learned friend. What? You can see it in their faces, I'm sure, the recognition of the accused's guilt. Your client's fate is all but sealed. In mere moments from now you will lose, and your compatriot will be damned for all eternity. the victim's not always dead. In the last thing with Natsume, in this timeline, the last thing with Natsume, which was literally 2 days ago from where we are now, she wasn't dead, Miss Green. She was stabbed in the back, and no one bothered to check to see if she was alive or dead for some reason. He's right. I can feel all the 6 of the jurors looking daggers at me. But I can't let them beat me down. I won't.
Counsel for the defense, proceed with your cross-examination.
Yes, my lord. Let's see, what do I have? I should probably examine all the things I have. The thing's gone. Oh! What is it, Mr. Naruhodo? The bar of soap. When we first found it, I could have sworn there was some sort of round disc in the depression just here. A reddish one. Yes, you're right. I remember it too. But now the depression's completely empty. Where could the disc have gone? It disappeared? I couldn't have dropped it, could I? Also a weird white foam. Open this envelope, didn't bother with a letter opener or scissors, did they? I usually don't either. Yeah, whoever opened it was clearly someone with an unrefined temperament. That was a while ago, Mimikyu. He did not, in fact, eat soap. Judging by the angle of the rip here, the person in question must have been right-handed. Mr. Sato, I think perhaps someone's been reading too much of the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Never read too much of it, Mr. Naruhodo. Never. Well, we found out that he did not in fact eat soap. In fact, he instead drank some tea that was poisoned. Also, he's not dead. Must be the cup that Mr. Shakespeare is drinking from then. Stain on the inside. Tea does that, I'm afraid, even green tea. Oh, really? I never noticed before. Never noticed? Well, I never leave it in the cup long enough to leave a mark. I like to gulp it down. Drink tea while it's hot. That's the Japanese way, isn't it? Oh dear, so many people seem to have the wrong idea about our culture. And most of them are Japanese. But there's not a mark in this one. This is the teacup from which Mr. Natsume was drinking. Yeah, unlike the other one, the inside of the cup is completely clean. Suppose he must have drunk his contents before the tea had a chance to leave a mark. I always gulp it down too. Sorry, Mr. Naruhodo. Well, if you just sip it a little by little, it goes cold. Clearly, I shall have to instruct you on the proper way to take tea. Also, isn't this mark enough to get a sign of poison? That's a drop, right? Doesn't look like there's anything else left in there. Also, for those that missed what their debate was about, which they might go over here, so let's see. Literally debate about Shakespeare works, I think you said, didn't you?
Shakespeare? Ah, very worthy topic of conversation, I must say. Oh yes, my lord. Romeo and Juliet, who was stronger? It was a profoundly pleasurable parley.
So yeah, they were going over the Romeo and Juliet power levels. So Seki and I are both on Team Juliet being stronger.
Romeo and Juliet?
Who was stronger? I know I'm gonna regret asking this, but how'd the debate go?
Well, we both agreed that we would reach a conclusion more quickly with the reenactment. So we battled it out. In Greco-Roman style, naturally.
What?
Mr. Shakespeare had all sorts of costumes in the room for such a contest.
When you say reenactment, you mean you were actually in costume?
He as Romeo and I as Juliet.
after a vigorous, wild tussle. I, as Juliet, came out on top. A victory I'll cherish forever. The idea of this guy winning any kind of fight is more impressive than Juliet winning one. I dare not imagine the terrible scene of carnage. The fact really means that it was you who prepared the tea and took the victim, correct? Juliet beat up Romeo, as it should be. I boiled the water in my room and made a pot to go with me. I'd heard that he was too poor to have tea himself, you see. It's true, there was no sign of any tea leaves in the man's room. I wanted to have something nice, to be friendly. So why is everyone looking at me with such suspicion? My tea was harmless, of course it was. Do you have any basis for that statement, witness? Well, I mean, he also drank the tea, but whatever. Yeah, there was not a drop of tea left in the victim's room anywhere, was there? That's correct. Anyone who would think the fellow had never had a pot of tea before must have licked it dry. Which is a pity, because one drop is all we would have needed to analyze it for poison. Say that you return home to your room at the 11 o'clock, Mr. Natsume. Yes, definitely. By heaven and earth, I swear it. Landlord's able to verify that as it happens. He confirmed that the defendant went back to his room at 11 that night. And how was the landlord able to attest to this? He said it was the lamps, I believe. The lamps, Inspector. When tenants return to the rooms and start using gas, the lamps in the other parts of the house flicker. Mr. Gadup seems to pay a lot of attention to the comings and goings of his tenants. There's only one key to Mr. Shakespeare's room, I know that for certain. So he must have locked the door himself, from inside his room. The victim has confirmed that to be the case, yeah. So I'm right, my tea was harmless, completely harmless. If you take the poison, if you die. Everyone knows that. Not that simple, I'm afraid. What do you mean? I guess we'll get to know what this poison is, because I've never heard of this one before. How long does it take for symptoms to appear then? According to the coroner, was speaking at the yard about 30 minutes after the poison consumed. Victim suffers violent convulsions, cramping, and stiffness, and eventually dies from asphyxiation, even though none of that happened. 30-minute interval for poison ingested in the onset of symptoms. Seem to be a lot of different types of poison in the world, that's for sure. Oh dear, death by poisoning again. Always so awful. A reminder that the victim is not dead. 30 minutes is a long time. Certainly long enough for the victim to have locked the door behind the accused after he left. Can't deny that. Further degrades Soseki's alibi. The medical report from the doctor who examined the victim here, my lord. Spells it out, really. Accused is the only person who could have done it. Very well, court will allow this report to the court record as evidence. A new thing. Oh yeah, I see it here. Delayed onset of symptoms. Great. Well, I better read that, I guess. Small quantity of whatever. High likelihood of substance being mixed with the tea the victim was drinking, but no sample available for testing. 1:30 a.m. on 1:30 a.m. When he collapsed, but he was sitting down, and his head hit the table. But they left it... Poison doesn't kill people. People kill people with poison.
Objection!
Objection! Argument still stands, you say? I think not, Inspector. Come again. I think you'll find
You overlooked a very significant chronological inconsistency here. What are you on about? According to this report, which you handed me like 2 seconds ago, chronologically, victim must have consumed the poison around 1:30 in the morning, and yet, the defendant, Mr. Natsume, left the victim's room at 11. Ah! Yeah, that's right. There's more than 2 hours of missing time there. In other words, if there was poison in the tea that Mr. Natsume brought to the victim's room, how could the victim have fallen ill to it 2.5 hours after the defendant left? Why are you yelling? Friend's argument's entirely reasonable. How do you respond, Lord Van Zieks? Let me pour some of my glass wine. Pray forgive the discourtesy if my mind has wandered. I was considering what cuisine would best complement the contents of my hollowed chalice in this luncheon. How could it have happened, you ask? Why do you keep breaking those? I do hate to shatter illusions, but my Nipponese friend appears to be chasing a phantom idea. A phantom? Of the opera? That's a different guy. I don't think Shakespeare wrote that one, right? Is it so hard to imagine the victim drank his tea after the accused had left? For example, at the time stated in the medical report. Yes, at around 1:30. You can't prove that, so... Mr. Natsume brought the tea with him to drink together with his neighbor. And in Japan, there's a well-known saying. Drink tea while it's hot. Objection. And in my country, there's even more apt saying. There is nothing more refreshing than cold tea. That is not a saying. The point is, if there's such a long gap, there may be other ways to explain how the victim came to be poisoned. Other possibilities. What sort of possibilities, Counsel? Well, for example, a man could have had another visitor. Another visitor? That's a very bold assertion, my learned friend. From someone who has nothing to substantiate it. Yeah, well, that seems to be your theme. Or the victim could have taken the poison of his own volition. This may have been suicide, Counsel. That would require the man to be dead, my lord, but Mr. Shakespeare has categorically denied suicide. The idea can and must be discounted. Dang it. But he could be lying. Why would he lie about that? I don't know. Nothing wrong, Lord Van Zieks. I was listening to the sound of the carriage pulling up outside the courtroom. Pray, forgive the discourtesy. Carriage? What carriage? It would seem that the key player in this case has just arrived. Hold it. Where is... oh. Out, out, brief candle, life's but a walking shadow. Oh boy. A poor player that struts and frets of his hour upon the stage and is heard no more. He's Batman. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing, yet saying everything. Who, sir, are you? William Shakespeare, my lord. Alas, 'twas I, undone by these bitter events. I am the victim. His status is still victim. But now we are all victims that must hear him. Wow, random. Do you not appreciate my soliloquy of accents? Soliloquy. I can speak words, I swear. But goodbye, Random. We shall miss you. What's he doing here? Well, he's alive. Why wouldn't he be here? The prosecution seeks to call this gentleman to the stand. With his testimony, my learned friend's futile resistance will be utterly crushed.
You're calling him as a witness? I mean, who better to witness their own death than the one who died? Very well, counsel. I grant your request with interest. I'm curious to discover what the court shall hear from this victim himself. Oh, good, he has a staff. Great. Happy am I, Shakespeare, to regulate with thee with my tale of woe, my lord. But I still have my own tale to tell, my own tale of West woe. I can regale the court with the tale of my perfect innocence in perfect English. That will do, Mr. Natsume. Let's go out here from the victim. Okay. I guess I'll just stand over here then. What? Where'd this guy come from? Alright, so that's Mr. Shakespeare. Who's this other guy? This is the guy that was looking through the window. Yeah, I feel sure we've caught a glimpse of that man before. They your names and occupations for the court, please, witnesses. Where did the staff go? A writer of words so sweet they scent the breeze. An inventor of ideas so profound they compose the earth. The unrivaled poet, the unmatched scribe, William Shakespeare. Were the great bard to be recalled in life anew, lo, what magnificent man! Good fellows, I am he who ponders such a miracle, William Shakespeare. I'm the meterman. Adron B. Meterman. Meterman. Have we seen a meterman before? We're for Apple's Gas Company, East End branch office. I remember now. It was yesterday, on the road. Oh yeah, she's right, it's him. It's the guy who ran away. Looks like he's trying to see into Soseki's lodgings. Yumi, can we have a word? Yeah, okay, bye. I don't think your chin is supposed to jiggle like that. Yeah, we spotted him outside Mr. Garridib's house that morning. He's the gas company employee? What does he have to do with this case? Oh, Mr. William Shakespeare. You're the victim of this miserable affair, correct? Oh, heaven! Oh, hell! Do you command me to remember? That sweet poison discrossed me and crossed mine as the lips. I suspend him from the trial, with doctor's permission, naturally. Hearing the testimony of the aggrieved will remove any room for doubt in the jurors' minds, I'm sure. Behold, you have neither arranged the letters of my name to see me as a seraph, an angel indeed. Thus be I noble of mind, sweet of nature, and verily honest of heart, as heavenly angels be. Most angels are pretty evil, though. There isn't a lost contrived meaning in your name. Lost contrived meaning in your name? No, not at all. Definitely not sham. Liar. You don't seem to be very moved by this man, I'm afraid. Actually taking the seraph anagram idea seriously? Thank you, Winters, for your illuminating introductions. But my lord, what's the man next to Mr. Shakespeare doing here? The Gaspin, I mean. What, me? Well now, no. Allow me to enlighten my learned friend. You recall, I presume, your earlier interpretance, when you suggest the victim had another visitor to his room the night in question, and moreover, that the victim is a compulsive liar. Well, I mean, that last part is true, but no, I didn't quite say that. Most angels are pretty evil. These young gin-struckers convert your wild claims conclusively. Though he will probably, make them more accurate. Is that not so, Mr. Meaderman? Yeah, well, hang on, no. I'm just here to... Hereby call forth your formal testimonies. You'll tell the court as lucidly as possible what happened the night in question. Stop talking. One may smile and be a villain. Yes, it doth pain me, but let me as truth be spoken. Truth that wintry night, my discontent. I'm just kind of here, I guess. The snow lay about. My neighbor did cometh in the evening, bearing a gift of tea. But merry bitter was his drink, and when he left, I did fall to prostrate on my table. 'Twas the tea alone did pass my lips that late hour, not else.
I was outside this bloke's window in the freezing cold all night, keeping an eye on his room. No one else visited his room but that short little round-backed Eastern fella.
But why were you there?
Wait, what'd you say? You were keeping an eye on Mr. Shakespeare's room all night? That's right. Of course, the bloke's window's all but blocked up, isn't it? But there's a little gap in the bricks where you can see into the room. So I spent the night trying to keep my teeth from chattering as I peered through that.
Question is, why?
Well now, that's 'cause he's on my list.
What a piece of work is this man. Wherefore wouldst thou not stare in wonderment?
What are you talking about?
This buzzing busybody hath not part in this play. I pray thee, pay him no heed. Make no more ado about his tedious works.
What'd you say about me?
Oh, he is a bee. He's even got a black and yellow buzzer. Why is he a bee? Why is he a bee meterman? I guess maybe Shakespeare owes him money? Or drugs, one of the two. Calm yourselves. This court is concerned with what happened on the night in question. Nothing more. Indeed, that is so. And as the testimony we have just heard clearly reveals, there was no other than the accused present at the time who could have carried this crime. Or, I don't know, the guy took a thing through the window?
Maybe the final testimony with the trial. Now, counsel, defense may proceed with the cross-examination.
Spoiler, this is not the last testimony of the trial, because there's no way we'd only have two. Right? Right? I don't know if this one matters. Might as well.
To be clear, by neighbor, you're referring to the defendant, Mr. Natsume?
Oh, indeed, sire. Perchance wouldst thou call him the man from upstairs.
Isn't he downstairs?
At what time did the mustache Nipponese visit your room? Our meeting was promised for the hour of 9, and lo, did he come, a tender gift of fragrant tea.
Details in accordance to the defendant's own testimony, yes?
And we were broiled with such a literary debate as history hath not seen before.
I presume he means
their discussion about who was stronger, Romeo or Juliet. I, Shakespeare, did play the part of young Romeo, whilst my neighbor played the fair Juliet.
Strictly speaking, I don't feel that Romeo and Juliet would engage in a fight.
They were kinda, romantically involved with each other, so... Each of us are dressed would our characters be, to bring weight upon the merry experiment.
I dare not imagine the scene.
Frality, thy name is woman. Canst thou imagine how dismayed I was? Yes, I'd heard the eastern art of jujitsu, but... ne'er did I dream it would be skill practiced by the comely maiden.
Juliet beat Romeo up? This is not helping our case.
I believe the court has heard enough about your earth-shattering literary debate. Perhaps you could reiterate your statement about the tea the accused brought to your room. My liege, I am thy servant. Gladly I would do thy bidding.
Couples do fight, but they don't usually fight with swords, fake or otherwise. Let me stop you there. Mr. Natsume left your room at 11 o'clock, but it wasn't until after 2 the poison made you collapse. That amounts to more than 3 hours of missing time. The defendant really put the poison into your tea. That 3-hour window of time
Something you're going to have to explain. Gladly, 'tis an easy task. What? I did drink the tea, not while my guest did tarry, but after he took leave of me. Faith, 'twas stone cold, but at the hour post midnight, verily were my lips parched. But that doesn't sound normal. Nay, 'tis quite ordinary, sire. After all, thou wouldst recall our fiery debate. Amidst such argument, there'd be no time for fiery tea. Romeo and Juliet again. And who was stronger? Mr. Shakespeare, in summary, allow me to confirm, did you not come here with the intention of naming your attacker? But of course, my liege. 'Twas the stupid lover of words that did attempt to shuffle me off this mortal coil. But he also drank the tea. You don't know what that means. Can we prove he ate soap? You didn't have any kind of evening meal, dinner, supper, soap? Ha! Fire and luxury, fire and gluttony. Tea thrice daily is not but a waste of time. Sorry? I would that my belly were full, no more often the sun doth rise. I hate the way this guy talks, but I have to do it. I'm contractually obligated to give you the best acting. Most heroic eating habits, I must say. Night and day do I fill my hours with learned study of the great bard and playwright. Hints that there doth not be in my chamber be more than costumes of mine art. That would appear to be the case, as even Roden was found starved to death in your room. Hush. Now I think of it, it's not just food that was conspicuously missing from that room, is it? I don't recall seeing a single play or script anywhere. For I have devoured them all. You've eaten them? Every word be within my skull. Didst thou imagine otherwise? Oh, right, that wasn't misleading at all. Now could you turn around so you think? Which brings us to a conclusion, that only way poison could have passed the victim's lips is in the tea. But he had a fork. I was outside the boat window, freezing cold all night, keeping an eye on his room. Why? And the windows of that house have all been filled in. Historical architect of the now defunct window tax. Yeah, you're right there. All bricked up horribly. But as it happens, there's a little part in the brickwork at the bottom of the corner that's been opened up. Why does he keep rubbing his chin? Doesn't even have a beard. I was looking through that gap. Yeah, there were a few bricks loose, weren't there? Much like how there's a few bricks loose in everyone's head. Some strange reason a couple bars of soap lined up on the ledge outside as well. I don't like going around poking my chin in other people's business, even though it's huge. Especially on freezing cold nights. There's my orders, so that's what I'm keeping doing. As long as there's breath in my body. What's with all the theatricals today? Out of interest, Mr. Meterman, after the accuser left and returned to his old lodgings, did you see the victim leave the room at all? No, never left. He's in that room the whole time as far as I'm concerned. And we can therefore discount the possibility of suicide. How can you be sure of that? The police carried out a thorough investigation of the scene and found no receptacle for the poison. Since we know the victim did not leave his room and hence did not dispose the poison's container himself, it's clear that there was no attempt at suicide. Only the culprit could have removed the receptacle. Ah, yes. Loosely explained, counsel. Thank you. Really was. Can't argue with the logic. Unless he took it from the window, or dumped it out the window, and this guy took it, or whatever. I haven't got anything good, though. Must be this one. Hey, short little round-backed Eastern fella, could you... So you can't be sure of the defendant, then? How many other short little round-backed Nipponese with a mustache do you think there are in London? I could put on a fake one, and I'd probably look the same. Well, of course, it's only a narrow gap and it was quite dark, so I didn't notice the mustache. But he showed up around 9, so I'm pretty sure myself. And the person you saw arrive, did he and Mr. Shakespeare drink tea together? Nah, sorry. Couldn't say. Why not? 'Cause couldn't see in the room all that well, could I?
What I did see was the silhouette of that little round back fella wearing a pretty dress. And the pair of them started some wrestling match. I tell you, I didn't know what to make of it. The court would like to request that you stop making us imagine it.
I suppose that was the Romeo and Juliet championship battle getting underway. Mr. Meaderman, allow me to confirm one final time. Apart from the accused, can you state with certainty that no one else visited the victim in the night in question?
No question. Gaspman's honor.
Oh, it's this again. Okay, of course.
My lord. Goodness me, Mr. Foreman. I've kept my mouth shut and listened up to now, but now it's gone on long enough. Are you all with me?
Are we to understand that you ladies and gentlemen of the jury are in agreement with one another on a mistake? That you've reached you an unanimous decision?
Too right we have. You all with me? The defense is in the middle of cross-examination. To be honest, I was holding out a bit of hope for you, young man. Especially after you identified those few hours that followed the accused leaving the victim's room.
Yes, the 3 missing hours as you put it.
And in the end, what difference do they make?
A lot. 3 hours, as a matter of fact.
None as far as I can see.
And since that's now apparent, there's really no reason to delay our decision any longer.
Same before. Don't find Bob home and not misses a blow or top. Eh? What's that? Sorry, I didn't quite catch what you said.
Why did they bring these people back? We have no idea. She's the only new one they brought in. And I assume that it's because Garrett Ebb's wife is in the hospital or something.
Say your learnings, the defense capability.
Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty.
Guilty. His voice is so much lighter than it should be. I don't remember her name either, Mimikyu.
All of you? Well, it appears the jury is indeed unanimous.
So this time at least it seems justice will be done. All's well that in well, as they say. This calls for a toast, even though I do not have any bread. And also no one is dead. To the guilty being punished. Yeah, but I'll do my thing again. Hang on. Get up, Mr. Naruhodo. Trial isn't over yet. What do you mean, Mrs. Sato? What about the information I found in this Encyclopedia of British Law I have? The obscure right belongs to defense in these situations. Remember? Oh yeah, we've done this like 20 times. Summonation examination. Yeah, that's right. We don't have a jury in Japanese courts, of course, but here in British Court of Law, you can reverse the decision of a majority of the jurors. Force the trial to continue. This trial can't end now, literally. Whatever it takes, I just can't let that happen. Ow! Defense moves to invoke its right to a summonation examination, my lord. I figured you would. Why am I not surprised at my learned Nipponese friend's inability to admit defeat? You choose to cling desperately to some arch rule you barely comprehend instead of accepting the truth. It's worked like 3 times, shut up.
Certainly no other defense counsel in recent times has exercised the right to summonation examination.
Because they all know once the jury's mind is set, it cannot be altered. Even though it has been altered many a times.
Nevertheless, the right remains and must be upheld. Defense counsel's request is granted.
It's his bluff, but it's also just... It's just pointing at people and going, no, you're dumb. That's not what was said at all. Shut up. Thank you, my lord.
You and your fellows prepared, Mr. Foreman? Believe me, my lord, we know all about this young lad's tenacity. We're ready for it. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I hereby call upon each of you to state the grounds upon which you find the defendant guilty of the crime which he stands accused. Alright, what do they got to say this time? Victor may not be well off, but he's a noble man straight up. No reason to doubt the man. What? Nothing noble about this guy.
Well, I do declare, the good gentleman has no reason to lie. In fact, I think he's rather splendid.
What? Just because he has no reason to lie doesn't mean he can't be wrong. Look at me, I'm wrong all the time, and I never tell lies. And look at the cute by comparison. He's Japanese, stoops all the while, and has a mustache. Very fishy. That's just rude. That's just you being rude.
There's no evidence to suggest that Glingling after is a fraudsman. For now, at least.
Fraudsman? His name is literally Shakespeare. I don't really care, like. I just need this trial to end quickly. 3 hours of missing time, nothing when we reach my age, you know. Nothing at all.
It's still 3 hours, guy.
Ugh, I don't know which one to go. I knew it, every single one of them seems completely convinced.
Not really. Seems all the jurors have come to the conclusion that Mr. Shakespeare is fine, upstanding, and honest citizen, even though he's literally none of those.
You ask me, they've all been bewitched by his strange theatrical movements.
Sadly, nothing Mr. Natsume has said appears to have registered at all.
Well, here goes, let's not forget. Pleaded with the jury on Soseki's behalf before, and it worked. So you never know.
Before we begin, it might be an idea for me to remind you exactly how a summonation examination works.
Oh.
Still very new to British law, after all.
I don't need an explanation. I did this like a week ago. It was more longer than that, but still. Only chance I might have forgotten some crucial detail. Perhaps I should hear Sasato out. I wonder, should I let her talk me through it again or not bother? No need, I'm fine. Thank you for the kind offer, Mrs. Sato, but I've been through plenty of these summonation examinations already now. I think it's important that we don't delay the start of it any longer than necessary.
And now watch as they explain it to me anyways. Of course, I understand. I'm quite sure you're right. If you're confused by anything at any point, you can turn to me for advice whenever you like. I'll be here for you.
Key to this is really listening carefully to each juror's statement, finding two that are contradictory, and pitting corresponding jurors against each other. What's the point of saying no if it's just gonna tell me anyways? Without further ado, please, counsel, proceed with the summonation examination. Yes, my lord.
Should I get that guy's face as an emote in the back? It's that happy grin.
Guess I'll just press all of them. There are plenty of people in London who seem noble but poor. Couldn't some of them also be liars? I've no doubt about it. Like that shaky client of yours, for example. Absolutely not. Mr. Natsume is no liar. Look, point is, the only thing that passed the victim's lips that night was the Japanese man's tea. Take the gasman's testimony into account as well, the truth couldn't be any more clear. Yeah, well, that's alarmingly logical. Let me be frank here. I'm a gentleman with a gentleman's values. Turns out the old Shakespearean chum was a rotten liar after all. I'd gladly change my decision about the defendant. I'm sure my fellow gentlemen on the jury would do the same. Isn't that right? Yeah, perhaps. Though I don't see it happening. Eh? What's that? Ellie Jin on the end here, you know. You have to speak up.
This guy should not be allowed to be on the jury.
I don't care about this nonsense. I need trial to be over.
How many gentlemen do we actually have here on the jury, then? 0.
Aye, sir, I may hold you to that. Don't forget what you said. Huh.
What about the women? Oh, it changes thing. You saying you believe the man to be trustworthy because he's rather splendid? No, that's not what I said. Point is, the man is the victim here. What reason would he have to lie? And yeah, he's rather splendid. Yeah, so you say, yet again. Meanwhile, the man who stands accused behaves so suspiciously, it's exhausting to look at him. I'm afraid he's not splendid at all. Splendid logic there, madam. Thank you so much. No, none of those things are the reason to find the man guilty. But he is fishy. No point in dancing around the fact. He's Japanese, he has a mustache, and he stoops. Alright, 2 of those are very rude. One of them is fine, but you can't just blame someone because he's Japanese. Or because he stoops. It's fine to suspect him because he has a mustache, though. Mustacheism must go. See, you're at a conclusion in just 3 steps. 3 steps, like a waltz, in fact. If Van Zeek's allowed to do that, and everyone else is too, apparently. Sadly, we cannot trial them over being rude. You know, the more I think about it, the more this trial seems like a dance. You seem to be several steps ahead of yourself, though. And you're on the wrong foot. And you got 2 left feet. Nothing but circumstantial evidence here. No actual proof of the defendant's guilt. But the victim's verdict is invincible, backed up by what the Big Chin man's victim says, isn't it? 1, he saw the Japanese man there. 2, he saw no one else. And 3, he saw the Japanese man there. Oh, that's another 3 steps. Even though 2 of them were the same. Oh, this really does seem like more like a waltz, doesn't it? Right, and the prosecution will waltz its way to victory if I let you speak much more. No evidence suggests the gangling actor's a fraudsman, for now at least. I don't know what a fraudsman means, but... A fraudsman? What do you mean by that, madam? It really is the most tiresome problem for the company. Most irritating. We can be absolutely certain that customers stealing from us, but without hard evidence. We can't even threaten to take action for fear of being sued. What? I'm sorry, you've lost me a little there. Who are you? I'm the wife of August Altamont, owner of the Altamont Gas Company.
Good gracious, Altamont Gas, you say?
Wait. Okay, gas has been a major thing. Is he... Maybe it's not drugs, but instead it's... He's faking getting gas? I don't know how he could do that, though. Gas is the future of the energy of this country and around the globe, but proper handling is essential. As I'm sure an employee from the East Breton branch office will be the first to agree.
Absolutely, Lady Quinby. Gotta be used properly. Altamont Gas is the best in the world, of course.
Why is he dressed like a bee, but she's not like a queen bee? I think we may have solved the mystery of the bow from earlier, Mr. Naruhodo. The bow from earlier. Right, he bowed in the difference to the employer's wife, did he? Ah, so would I be right in assuming the reason Mr. Meterman was watching what Mr. Shakespeare was up to in his room? I'm afraid there's no end to the links the population in East End will go in order to steal our gas. Really have no choice when the company identifies someone as a possible fraudsman. But dispatch a worker to watch the suspect day and night. We're very thorough in our investigations. Oh, you mean Mr. Shakespeare is... I wouldn't come out and say it in public. Oh, there it is. Never mind. There's her queen bee. But you can finish that sentence with a grubby little gas thief. You've noticed the public gallery in here, haven't you? The eye of man hath not heard. The ear of man hath not seen. Faith, wouldst thou wound me with thy words, were I to let them penetrate the skin. But seraphs hear not insults, only choirs of angels in song.
May not have evidence yet, but my workers wouldn't stop buzzing around you until they find it. And when they do, you'll find yourselves blasted back to your angelic heights in the Admiral's gas explosion.
Mr. Shakespeare has been stealing gas. I wonder, juror number 4, if you wouldn't mind adding that information to your statement.
My pleasure. Was it the bit about ripping the thief apart you enjoyed?
Yeah. A little before the part about the abject violence, if it's not too much trouble.
Yes, of course.
Could be it. Could be the shift the balance. Well, I mean...
Objection!
These two change, so that's usually the, hey, these need to be pit against each other. Good gracious. To whose name would you prefer, counsel?
Juror number 1.
Eh? What are you yelling about, lad?
I presume you've heard the juror number 4's statement, made by the wife of the owner of the Altmont Gas.
Well, yes.
The victim, who you claim to be a noble, straight-up man, is in fact turns out to be a common thief.
So the good lady says, but there's no evidence, is there? You and I both heard them say as much.
It's true, we don't have any evidence as such, just yet. But the claims aren't baseless, you know.
What?
You heard me, seeing as his operation has already been compromised. I would suggest the court hears testimony from our East End branch office employee over there.
Do whatever you say, milady. Jasmine's honor.
Buzz, buzz, buzz. Is this whole trial just B-movie, but instead of flowers and pollen and honey, it's gas? Juror number 1, you say you're a man of your word. If I could show Mr. Shakespeare is a liar, you assured me that you would reconsider your decision about the defendant's guilt. Also, his hand definitely just clipped through the desk, but we'll ignore that. That's the secret of all courtroom cases, Mimikyu. It's all just B-movie. Always has been.
As a man of honor, I'll hold to it. As I'm sure other gentlemen of the jury will.
Me? Oh, well, yeah. Now that we found all the man's a liar, perhaps we ought to consider the matter further.
Well, if I'm perfectly honest, I haven't heard half of what you've all been saying. Don't mean to recap a few points. That'll zoom me down to the ground.
Please, take this man off the jury.
Oh no, not having part of this. I want the trial over and done with.
Then leave. In that case, I shall change my leaning.
So, Mr. William Shakespeare, that's your real name?
Whoa. Calm down.
We of the jury demand to know what kind of man you really are.
Since Shakespeare is real, I will assume that's not his real name. That's 4 jurors. 4 not guilty. Yes, Mr. Naruhodo. Victory.
Well, this is quite extraordinary, I must say. As a result of defense summation examination, the jury's leaning has changed. Only 2 jurors say guilty, whilst 4 say not guilty. I therefore declare this court to be a state of disaccord, and order the trial to continue.
Bam, 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 bam. You have spoiled the bouquet, Mr. Shakespeare. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury now find they are unable to trust you, the victim. But you gods will give us some thoughts to make us men. So God mend me, I do swear. Also, for someone so poor... Well, the rules state he's not allowed to talk during it unless he's directly addressed by the judge. So he just sits there and drinks wine. But also, for someone so poor, I assume those gems are real. The gasman speaketh that which concerns him most, naught but gas, naught but thin air. Aye, it burneth bright for a while, but it hath no substance, and it doth wreak fire.
Oi, what'd you say?
Do I take it, Mr. Shakespeare, you have denied the allegations of gas thievery? Most heartily, my lord. Hast thou forgot? I am a seraph, an angel, noble of mind, sweet of nature, and verily, honest of heart.
This may seem hypocritical, because I say that I don't tell lies, but typically people don't need to say that they are these things, if they are these things. I'm not honest. Honestly, I'm not.
Ah, you flowery-mouthed pompous beanpole, just 'cause I haven't got the evidence yet.
Mr. Shakespeare, I'm over here now, by the way. If, in fact, you are not noble of mind, sweet of nature, honest of heart, if you are a liar, then your testimony should have no sway in this courtroom.
My considered opinion, that at the present time, no other possible culprit of this crime has been identified. All testimony heard by court there thus far heavily implicates the defendant. In short, it would not be unreasonable at this stage for me to rule on the case.
Oh no.
However, I won't. In light of the fact the jury has expressed concern about the fidelity of this witness, I believe it would be appropriate for this court to not pursue the point further.
Also, he's lying? The judge can't say whether someone's not guilty or not until the jury agrees.
Objection!
I assure you, my lord, that would be a waste of the court's time. The gas in this case are unrelated. Juror number 4. Yes? Didn't you say before that although you had no hard evidence to prove this man had been stealing gas, you have strong grounds for suspecting him? That's right, we do. Don't we, worker?
Absolutely, Lady Quinby.
Oh, dang it. Her name is literally Queen Bee. Quinby.
Gasman's honor.
I didn't even realize that was her actual name. Partly because it says juror number 4 on her name tag, but still.
Very well then, we'll hear your testimony now. Give the court precisely what you believe to be the victim, Mr. William Shakespeare, has been stealing gas. Yes, my lord, it'll be my pleasure. The Altman Gas Company...
If I may, my lord.
Go ahead, madam.
This worker's testimony may have significant bearing on the good name of my husband's company. Therefore, I should like to take the stand alongside him in supervisory role, if you wouldn't mind.
Oh, yeah, sweet as honey. Yeah.
What is happening?
Very well, except as an exception, I'll honor your request.
Thank you, my lord.
Wait till the boss gives you an earful. Oh, it's gonna sting, you mark my words.
We both testify before the court on the subject of illegal consumption of the Altman Gas Company's fuel. Yes, is that clear, my good man?
Clear as Altman gas, my lady. Even though it's green, which is the clearest in the world.
Stop bowing. Oh, and his little scarf for tiny wings. Think the gas has gone to his head, Mrs. Sato? I think the man is just a very dedicated employee, Mr. Naruhodo. See his little... What's it called? Fred wears one. I can't remember what it's called. His little neckerchief is his tiny bee wings. An ascot, yeah, that's right. Thank you, Mimikyu. I can only remember that Fred wore one. From Scooby-Doo, specifically. Not Flintstone. But they go behind his shoulder, so they're tiny bee wings just fluttering about. The character designs are on point, but man, I hate it.
Proud to be the company's East End branch investigator and meter money collection agent. Altman gas meters accept therapy bits, each coin giving customers about 2 hours of gorgeous gas.
And yet, the meter in Mr. Shakespeare's room didn't have a single coin in it. The meter doesn't appear to have been tampered with, though, and the collection agent has the only key.
Somehow he's using all those flaming gas he wants without paying a penny. That's not thieving, what is?
Ah, I see. Okay. Pray forgive the discourtesy. The irrelevance of this testimony caused me to turn my hollowed chalice.
You can stop apologizing for that.
What do you mean by that remark, Lord Van Zeeks? Then the mustache nip on his poisoned the gangling excuse for an actor, or didn't he? That's all this should be concerned this court. And yet, now we must listen to this abhorrence. Please stop breaking those. I hope they eventually kick Van Zeeks out because the janitor gets upset with him.
You know how much glass I've had to sweep up because of you? How much wine I've had to clean up? At least finish the glass.
Really, what separates the vast British Empire and your Eastern Island nation is more than geographical distance. You know, they brought up the issue, not me, right?
But this could turn out to be a crucial testimony. Cross-examination must go ahead. My leg!
Do what you will.
I heard the thing staticking up.
Lord Van Zeeks appears to be in a violent mood. Hang on. Yeah, it did lag a little bit. I think the thing flickered out. There we go. If I was a lag mage, I could use lag to my advantage. Sadly, I cannot. An attempted poisoning, and an incident of gas theft with no supporting evidence. True, they would appear completely unrelated at the first glance. I wonder, truth tends to be buried in the most unusual places. First step to uncovering will be establishing just who and what this man really is. Said, for someone so poor, he sure has a lot of jewelry.
Proud to be the company's East End branch investigator, meter, money collector agent. Okay, I don't care. Step therapy bits, each coin giving customer about 2 hours of gorgeous gas.
Okay. It could be fake, or they could be real. Even if they are fake, where did he get them?
All London towns have gas supply fitted for these gas meters, are they?
They're the latest model, the height of technology, developed by our company, Ultimate Gas. Anyone who uses our gas will have one of these meters in the property, yes.
3 pence coin gives 2 hours of gas. Most people use about 3 coins in a night. Bit more than that, usually. They have both gas lights and gas stove, that is.
Thinking about it, Soseki doesn't have a fireplace in that room of his, does he? Some people still choose to use candles, of course, and only have gas for heating. Ah, yeah, I do remember seeing candles in Mr. Natsume's room, actually. It's weird how those two, like, address Soseki in two different ways, you know? That's kind of what I'm leaning towards. The red thing we found in this soap, that's a disc shape, that seems to be gone, too. Must be something that dissolves itself. Somehow. Probably in the heat. So he must be using the soap to construct these discs and then using them as coins. And by using them as coins, he's able to get around having to pay for gas. I also just realized you're talking about the jewelry and not the gas. I was thinking about the logic. And the question is, how do I get the game to think that? Or I could be totally wrong, I have no idea.
How's the money in the meter get back to you at the gas company? Every 3 days, gasmen like me visit properties with the gas supplies and empty meter with coins.
I must say, the design and manufacture of the new meter cost the company an awful lot of money. But happily, it did put a stop to people not paying their dues, for the most part. Ah, because they have to pay in advance, you mean? Yes, exactly right. Out of interest, how long has this been going on?
Weeks and weeks. Been pinching gas off us for ages. You examined the meter in Mr. Shakespeare's room, I take it?
Naturally, we took it off the wall and went over it with a fine-tooth comb. And found nothing suspicious at all, I presume. I'm surprised he's saying anything. I figured he would just ignore all this. No, I'm afraid we didn't. It's exactly why I demanded a new type of meter to be produced. One with an indestructible lock. The Shakespeare Special.
Sounds like it'd be cost an awful lot to...
3 penny pieces. But even after that, the rascal's meter was still empty.
Never forget the humiliation. When I opened up the money box and found it bare. You what? I said, you what? And then the look on his face, that smarmy smile of his. Pulled the meter straight off the wall and took it back to the office. But you know what? Nothing. Not a trace of being jammed up anywhere. Not a single sign. What's happening to my salary result? Down by 3 shillings a day.
A life-threatening situation in a number of ways. Incidentally, what became of that meter?
Nothing became of it. Still got it.
Oh.
Right here.
You just carry that with you? Why? No wonder they call you Meterman.
Now that's my last name.
I think it'd be prudent for the court to sequester this item while the trial's ongoing. Okay, time to look at that. Definitely, although at first glance, there doesn't appear to be anything unusual about it. Let's move this along, shall we? Though I would say it has much value as the contents of that meter.
Oof.
Rude. Nothing on the back. Oh, wait. Oh, what's... You spotted something, Mr. Naruhodo? Just here, there's a little hole. Do you see? Goodness, you're right. I wouldn't have noticed. Not a very neat hole, is it? Not professionally made, I'd say. So you think it might have been opened up by Shakespeare? Possibly. Seems people at Outmangask must have missed it. What? How? No way the coin could fit through there. That's true, but even so, seems more than a little suspicious. I think I might be correct, because now I'm thinking about it. There's a big watermark on the ground right below where his gas meter is. You're right there. There's also a hole patched up right here, but I don't know if that's relevant. Oh, dang it, I didn't mean to press that. Only one key for all your meters? Well, in truth, there's another key in the company vault in our main office. But even if someone had somehow managed to get a hold of a key, we'd know if the coin box had been opened. Oh? How? Well, it'd be opened. I came up with a rather clever way to expose any shenanigans as it happens. Would you care to explain?
Well now, in order to enter your meter, you have to unlock the padlock and remove the cover. When that closes the cover again, stick a little beeswax on the seal, you see.
Just more bees. Why the bees?
A seal? Like the sort of thing you put in an envelope or at the zoo? Something like that, yeah. Make sure you can't remove the cover again without breaking the seal.
Now, in the case of Mr. Shakespeare meter, there were no coins inside at all, as I said.
Seal hadn't been broken either.
That would mean that Mr. Shakespeare someone managed to steal coins from inside the meter without opening it. It would seem so, but that would be impossible. Unless there were no coins to begin with. Dang it. No. Okay, well, it's clearly been tampered with. It has a hole in it.
Objection.
Lady Admin, I'm afraid to say... this meter clearly does show signs of having been tampered with. What?
Get away! I've been over and over that thing. Telling you, nothing wrong with it.
In that case, what do you have to say about the small hole that's been made at the base of the coin box?
Oh, what? Uh-oh, I'm in a whole lot of trouble.
You're right, you're quite right. There is a little hole there. The meters aren't supposed to have that. None of the others do. In other words, we can assume that Mr. Shakespeare secretly opened up this hole himself. Yes, I wouldn't be all surprised, but why?
Yeah, why? I mean, it's tiny. Couldn't get a farther than through that.
Lady Outman, I wonder if you could give the court some more details about your meter design. What sort of details? Well, what specifically I'd like to know is how it differentiates coins. How does the meter tell the difference between different coins? What do you mean? Well, for example, if someone were to put in 1 penny coin, that wouldn't work presumably, would it? No, of course not. So, how's the meter know what the coin's been fed as a thorough penny bit? I don't know what thorough penny means. Ah, I see what you're getting at now. Meter tells coins apart by their shape and size, which includes their thickness. Thorough penny bit is about 3/4 inch diameter, you see. Other coins just won't fit. Yeah, I see. Clearly been very well thought out.
Witness will amend the formal testimony without information in case it's pertinent. Which it will be, because you never amend your statements without it.
Okay. So I guess the soap? Wait, do I have to look at that again? Look at this bar of soap. Circular depression on the side. About 2 centimeters across. Or 3/4 inch. Do you think? Did find the soap at the scene, didn't we? Yes, there were true bars. Little ledge just outside the window. So we took this one. I'm sure that when we first found it, there was some sort of reddish medallion in the middle there. I remember it clearly. Yeah, but there's no sign of it now. Where could it have gone? Well, good thing I accidentally pressed that. Anything matching 3-penny coin of turned diameter and thickness could equally be used. Would, that be true? Well, yes, in a way. The weight comes into a certain extent as well.
Ah, we've thought of that anyway. If I can find a fake coin inside the coin box by input the meter, contract says the customer has to pay 100 times the amount of diddle as a fine. We live for moments like that, us gasmen do. Live for them.
Seems the gas company has thought of everything.
Wahoo! Hurrah for gas! Hurrah for cash! Altman all the way.
It's quite enough of that. Yeah, remind me, how big are the thirpenny bits? About 3/4 inch across. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Is this 2 centimeters measurement significant? Or perhaps there's some other aspect of the meter's construction we should be focusing on? 2 centimeter. Yeah, you may be right. Perhaps I should try a different tack here. No, I think we need her talking about the coins, not it being dismantled.
I guess I'll just present the soap. The only thing I can think of.
Objection!
Phew, the music stopped. Let me just confirm something here. Diameter and thickness would be correct. The meter would accept any object as if it were a third-penny bit. Is that correct? Yes, that is correct. Well, something of a coincidence, while we were investigating Mr. Shakespeare's room, we found a particular item that matches the dimensions perfectly. Something the same size of a thorough penny bit. What was it? Item in question is this. What? You've been inhaling gas. That's bar soap. Certainly looks nothing like a thorough penny bit, I must say. Look, I'm gonna have to point out exactly what I mean here. Because people can't just, see where I'm pointing. Dang it. I pressed the wrong button again.
Got it!
Got it. You have to turn over the soap to see what I mean. Oh my. You referring to that round depression in the middle of the soap there? That's right. Depression approximately 3/4 of an inch in diameter. Or in other words, almost exactly the same size as a thorough penny bit. Get away! Is there a pun in the thing he's doing that I don't get? It's like in Japanese, does what he's yelling translate to buzz? Or am I light years away? Anyone present have a possession of thorough penny bit? Quickly now, hand over your coins, ladies and gentlemen. Sounds rather like a highway robbery, doesn't it? What? The court would never do highway robbery. That's crazy. Next to a kind member of the public in the gallery, some Professor Peyton. I have here a thorough penny bit. Now to see if it fits. My word! Couldn't be more snug. Yeah, I suspected. This, without a doubt, is a vital clue to explain how the Outman Gas Company is being defrauded. Well, I don't believe it. I ask again, your assertion amounts to what? The some inferior bar of soap has a tentative connection to the theft of gas? Yes. The pressure in the soap was clearly made by a thorough penny bit. I must concur, at least, that pushing a coin with some force is a poor quality bar of soap such as this. Arguably a simple way of replicating the coin's shape. Then you could use, well, some melted wax or something to pour in the mold. You could make fake coins in no time. Not sure what this brings us with the poison, though. Brings all the pieces of the puzzle together. Method Shakespeare's been using to steal the gas. This is the missing link. Our Bigfoot. Or our big coin. Now if I follow the chain of thought, it's going to bring me to a new explanation for what happened that nobody's considered yet. But this is all nonsense. If the man had been making fake coins, my worker here would have found what when he emptied the meter. Right true, Lady Alban. The absence of some black magic that could make them disappear. I see. That's what we're dealing with, is it? There's one form of black magic that could cause the fake coins to disappear into thin air, yes. Exactly. The meter here gives it away. What on earth? There are remnants of the magical method used visible in the gas meter taken from the victim's room. At your assertion, counsel, defense will identify the remnants of the course at want. Method be used to make the fake coin disappear be seen. I guess the hole? Right?
Got it!
Because the gas would heat up the liquid and make it flow out again. Found this bar of soap at the scene of the crime just outside the victim's window. Outside? Yeah, outside, where yourself, Mr. Meter Man, were loitering in the freezing winter air. That's where we found this soap. Ah, I get it. That's right. The answer, of course, is ice. Ice? You say ice?
Mr. Shakespeare has been leaving soaps like this outside the window each evening, filled with water. After a night outside in the bitter cold, the water is completely frozen solid the next morning. Then he takes his fake coins of ice and feeds them to the gas meter, giving him light and warmth in spades. As his room becomes very comfortably warm, the ice now inside the meter's coin box melts, turning back into water, and draining harmlessly away through the small hole in the underside of the meter. That is how, without leaving any evidence of his wrongdoing, this man has been stealing Atman gas. And what does this have to do with thing again? Just like that, so simply. Is he trying to make us look like idiots? I'm not really trying to, it just kinda comes out that way. He's been fooling us all with some bars of soap and some water? That's right, madam. Oh, you're talking about him, right, of course. I would never do that. I don't believe it. It can't be true. You have any idea how much money we spent to develop that new meter? Now you've audacity to suggest that a bit of soap and some water could render it totally useless? I'm fairly sure I didn't design it. Evidence. Sorry? I want evidence. If you're going to stand there and tell me our meters are rubbish, I want to see proof. She's very good at enforcing accountability, isn't she? Very well, Lady Adamant. If you'd like evidence, I'll provide it. What? Mr. Naruhodo, are you saying you actually have evidence to support this theory? I did notice a trace of something that bothered me a little at the time. I'm guessing they mean the photo. I have a feeling this theory you came up with now could explain it. Piece of evidence that sustains the theory about how Mr. Shakespeare was stealing gas is...
Take that!
It was the photo. It's this photograph. Every time I see it, it makes me laugh. In gas. Of the scene, the point where the victim was discovered, taken by Inspector Gregson, clearly shows the remnants of the crime carried out by Mr. Shakespeare. What remnants? Here you can see the gas meter on the wall in Mr. Shakespeare's room. Now look closely at the floorboards directly underneath the meter. Soaked, man! What is that? Some kind of grubby stain. Almost certainly, it's a water stain, resulting from the liquid that drained out of the hole made in the meter. If one coin gives around 2 hours of gas usage and the occupant was heating his room in all his waking hours, we can imagine he would have used around 10 of his fake coins each day. And melting ice inside the meter's coin box would have been dripping out almost constantly, leaving a gas stain on the floor. A water stain, not a gas stain. This is awful. Further evidence, too. Mr. Shakespeare slumped over his table, apparently having consumed poison, because I don't know how to pronounce that word. And right there next to him is a bar of soap, broken in half. You're right. It appeared to be then, counsel. The man was eating the soap, was he? Pardon me for disagreeing with your lordship, but no one would eat soap. Certainly not. He didn't beat about the bush there, did he? Just shut the judge down real quick. In truth, Mr. Shakespeare was found with a fork in his hand. Mule's soap is sounding increasingly likely. Nah, you mean to say he was using that fork to... Yes. To extract a frozen coin from the bar of soap. But the bar broke in half. So perhaps it didn't go very well. Good gracious! Oh, she's even wearing a B-striped dress. Van Zeeks, please stop throwing those into the audience. We have bills to pay, man. Lord Van Zeeks. I was throwing my hand up in despair. Sorry, I cracked a glass open on top of someone's head. Happened to catch my hollowed bottle in the way. Pray, forgive my maladroit mistake. What is the meaning of this, counsel? You're not forgiven. Someone's dead. Allow me to pose my learned friend a question. What exactly did you establish with your most recent cross-examination? Well... that Mr. William Shakespeare is a liar and a thief. In other words, that his testimony is unreliable. Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it.
Very well, let us assume the man is a liar. Now allow me to pose another question. What possible difference does that make?
Well...
No, the suicide can be discounted. Scotland Yard's investigation revealed no sign other than the vessel that contained the poison. And on the night in question, there were no visitors to the room except the accused. Young Gasman's testimony, which we have no reason to doubt, has confirmed that. Furthermore, the only possible way the poison could have been to the victim's body is via the tea. The court has seen no evidence whatsoever to suggest otherwise.
Eh?
Even if William Shakespeare is the liar you claim him to be, these facts have been objectively established. There is no escaping it. But, therefore, in light of these facts, the prosecution calls an immediate altercation.
You what?
Order in the court. Well, counsel, how's the defense respond?
Mr. Naruhodo. What was the point of that last cross-examination? Did it actually get us anywhere? Did it make no difference at all, like Lord Van Zeeks is saying?
I mean, you never wait and see.
No, this isn't over. The defense will not rest.
What? But counsel, you've successfully explained everything. You've identified the sustained, unscrupulous method employed by Mr. Shakespeare to consume gas. What's more there to discuss?
Lord Van Zeeks just highlighted 3 facts in order to make his point. Contrary to what you've had the court to believe, not all of them are objectively established at all.
What are you trying to say, my Nipponese friend?
At least one of those so-called facts is an assumption, made due to the lack of evidence. But the situation has changed now, following the cross-examination of the latest witnesses to take the stand.
Don't be absurd. What is this nonsense?
Yeah, when you bring everything we've learned so far together and consider it as a whole, it's clear. There's a question we now need to reconsider, namely...
Was he poisoned?
We've all been led to believe that this poison that affected Mr. Shakespeare was in the tea brought to him by Mr. Natsume, but that's a conjecture at best.
Objection! The victim has testified that nothing else passed his lips that night. There was no other possibilities. Since there was no trace of tea left in the scene, it couldn't be tested for traces of the poison.
Objection. As I said, the situation has changed. Because in fact, some of Mr. Natsume's tea was left at the scene. Particular piece of evidence proves it.
A ludicrous claim. Scotland Yard detectives investigated the scene exhaustively. And they're never wrong, other than the 20 times they've been... Okay, never mind. Present your evidence. I don't care. What evidence are you suggesting they missed?
Rance has made a bold claim indeed.
Very well, counsel. Present your proof. No evidence from the scene of the crime can tell us about the nature of the defendant's tea. The soap, I guess. Because it was red, right? And if he was using herbal tea, that's usually like a brown flavor? Or brown color. Which I guess would turn red. And I think it matches these? Let me see. It's hard to tell. It's kind of a pinkish color, really. I'm gonna go soap. Good gracious, soap again? Same bar the victim used to fashion coins of ice?
Yep, that's right, my lord. It's just come back to me. Tell me about when we first found this bar of soap at the scene yesterday. It was red. It's more bars of soap. What are bars of soap doing lined up on the ledge outside the window? Quite certain that when we originally stumbled upon these bars of soap, there was actually a frozen coin in each bar.
So you discovered the gas thief's coin factory. Fascinating.
In a way, yes, but there's more. The coins we found in the soap at the time weren't normal ice.
There was something strange about them, you mean?
Exactly, something very obviously strange. They were red.
The ice was red? Like blood? No. You mean like my hollowed chalice is?
That's right. It's obvious to me now. The fake coins in the soap were made from frozen tea. I remind the court of the statement made by Mr. Natsume earlier in this trial. That evening, yes, I did take some freshly brewed tea when I visited Mr. Shakespeare's room as a gift. The public water pump outside always freezes at night, so I bought bottled water, especially to make it. And this is the result. Never will I touch tea again. Never.
Ah, yes, do believe there had been a snowfall that day, particularly cold. Sadly, on such occasions, the poorly constructed water mains in the East End are prone to freezing, and we're not going to pay to fix them. That's the job of whoever lives there, apparently.
The night in question, Mr. Shakespeare, having no running water to use, was forced to use the tea brought by Mr. Natsume in order to make his fake coins.
My word!
2 bars of soap in the window ledge when my judicial assistant and I investigated the scene. That's right, and we only borrowed one of them. Which means that even as we speak, some of the defendant's tea is still present at the scene of the crime. Frozen solid in a bar of soap outside of Mr. Shakespeare's window.
Extraordinary.
Earlier today, Inspector Gregson informed the court that even if 1 drop of the tea remained, Scotland Yard would be able to analyze it for poison. As such, we are now in position to prove or disprove what has now been mere conjecture. By finding out for sure whether or not Mr. Natsume's tea actually contained poison at all. Ugh, you smug Nipponese. My lord, we cannot do the defendant injustice of passing judgment now. Police should be dispatched to recover the remaining bar of soap at the scene at once, and defense requests a thorough analysis of the frozen tea embedded in it, to determine whether or not it contains any poison.
It's pretty intimidating when he gets to order the court to do something. Bailiff, instruct the police to attend the scene at once. Yeah, yes, my lord, understood. I've totally been here the whole time.
Alright, what next?
Is this gonna show up? Seem we have no choice but to suspend these proceedings for the time being.
Oh.
I thought this would... Are we getting a break? I thought this would be a one and done. Plus, you have no objection, Lord Van Zeeks?
I have many objections, but none, my lord. Will suffice.
Scotland Yard will cover the tea from the scene and carry out the requisite tests immediately. Trial will resume at the same hour tomorrow. Prosecution and defense may conduct further investigation as appropriate in turn.
Yes, my lord. Phew. Well, that was exhausting. Managed to scrape through there somehow.
Thank you, counsels. Court adjourned until tomorrow.
To be continued. We did it, everybody. But now I'm confused at what part of this actually matters for Sasato being called back, because this is apparently the case that caused her father to go, whoops, better get my daughter out of there. So far, I haven't really seen anything. Unless maybe the gas company are important, but I don't think so. No, I'm afraid I'm gonna have to call it right there. Partly because I am hungry and my throat is killing me from doing all these silly voices. Maybe I'll make like a bee and go get some honey. Since that seems to be the theme. Yep, another... So, I guess next time, we will be exploring the world once again and investigating the crime scene. Maybe we'll even talk to Shakespeare, who is hopefully in a cell now, because he definitely deserves to be. Hope you get some good sleep, Reeslane. Sorry that the streams are later than usual for you. But I hope you still enjoy the stream and enjoy further streams. I will probably not be able to do anything tomorrow, given how it's usually pretty noisy, but I will try to do things when I can, even if it's just a minor thing, but we have the holidays coming up, so things may be more busy than expected. Either way, thanks so much for watching, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed the stream, enjoyed the day, and enjoy your night. But I will see you later. Boy for now. And remember to not drink any spoiled soap tea. Do not freeze your soap and put it in your tea, and do not freeze your tea and put it in your soap. It's not good. Boy.